Hey!
This is JJ and Alex.
I made a name for myself. I told you I won't be denied.
As you wrap up your day, it's time to get your fix of the teams you live for and the sports you love. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Lowry tries to come to the top. It's an inbound pass inside the lane. It's knocked around. Comes out to Sexton for three to tie. Yes! My goodness! 2.9 left. Half-court shot for the win. Yes! Trae Young waves goodbye as he hits a half-court shot. And the Atlanta Hawks beat the Utah Jazz.
I mean, you got to give it up for Locke. He had as much energy for that call. Now, you just got to respect the fact that a guy hits a half-court shot like
pro.
that, right?
A true pro.
I mean, the reality is that was a phenomenal
The call met
finish.
the energy of the moment, even though it was the wrong team.
Right. I've seen the home guys go in the tank immediately when that shot gets made, and that's not David Locke. You know why? Loves basketball. And if you're in the building for that sequence of because I remember watching. Were you in the building for what's his name? Dellavedova, Matthew Dellavedova hitting that half-court shot.
I remember it vividly. Yes.
After Tyler Haas drains the three.
Yes.
And everyone's like going nuts, and then to have the shot get made. Oh my gosh! Like,
is Dellavedova the most hated player among longtime BYU fans? Hated's probably the strong word.
Hated is pretty strong word.
Is he like the villain?
But but here's the thing. It's part of it is just the mouthpiece. I think that's half of it. Right? The fans hated the Dellavedova mouthpiece. And so that reminded me of that last night, that sequence of elation 1 second when you're like, we're going to OT, baby, to a guy hitting the half-court shot and walking out of there.
The thrill of victory and the agony of defeat all wrapped up in one moment.
In like 2 freaking seconds flat, 2.9, right? So, I mean, just a phenomenal way to end a basketball game. I loved it. And I hated it, and I loved it all at the same time. Because what have we been asking for? Give me the best game possible and take the L. And that was the best we could have done.
Yeah.
It was just a phenomenal game. But at the same time, you lose that one in heartbreaking fashion. And just a dagger to have it lost.
For those of you that left Delta Center early last night, sucks to be you.
I know. There were people, too. There were people in my family. It wasn't their choice, but they had a ride. Hey, we got to go. All right.
Hey, last night showed, before we get to Tim, I just want to mention, when we talk about the NBA, it's the problems with the NBA. Well, one of the problems with the NBA is the regular season games just don't have any meaning. Because,
I know.
But last night reminded you of what regular season NBA games can be and why the product is still good and the quality of play is good. We just don't have enough of those moments anymore because of guys sitting out all the time, blah, blah, blah. But that reminds you how great the NBA can be when it's played at that level, and you have endings like that, especially in the regular season. That was fun.
We got to open our show as we always do. G2G Bars brings you the program. A perfect protein bar for anybody who wants to get that quick, tasty, nutritious boost found at Costco, Holiday Oil, Maverick, Associated Foods, and many other places. In the refrigerated section, we got to get with Tim Reynolds here. He, of course, covers the NBA for the Associated Press. Let's get to it. It's the top of the hour here. It's The Cut. Let's get right to it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And The Cut brought to you by Trajan Wealth, your local trusted financial fiduciary in retirement. Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. Tim Reynolds, NBA writer for the Associated Press. Boy, that was a fun one for Jazz fans. You get the best of both worlds, a close game, and you lose. It's all good, Tim. Thanks for being on the program.
So I did not see the ending on this morning. And I'm like, oh, no. and I want to tell your listeners that this was booked yesterday.
I know.
I mean, not like we don't have stuff to talk about, And then that happens, and I'm like, oh, no.
No, but listen, we know what this year's about. I mean, come on. We got to be excited about that. You get good basketball, and you lose the
Jazz
basketball
fans
game.
got a great finish last night, and they got the L, so the Tank fans are happy.
Well, the fans who are like, anything but overtime, I guess they're happy.
Yeah, there's always that. There's always that.
It was a school night, so.
Well, let's jump in on some of this on this NBA action. What are your thoughts on this Jazz team, who are in a weird spot because this is a franchise we're used to winning here. We're used to watching teams win, and it's been a couple of years of struggles, but it's also been a couple of years of planned struggles, and it's just not something we're used to in this market. We're used to Jerry Sloan taking this franchise to 20 plus years of the playoffs. And I know that it's hard for our fans to listen. I mean, here on this is the home of the Utah Jazz, man. We got to listen to this team every night. We love the development of the players, but from a night-to-night basis, I've got a 16-year-old who I've got to explain that we have assets, and that doesn't mean anything to fans in some cases. How do you get through these things for a proud franchise? It's one thing to be a bad franchise historically, but when a proud franchise is going through a moment like this, what do you tell fans who are going through all this?
I don't even know where to begin, honestly, because I don't think the regular fan, the fan who's telling the 16-year-old about the assets that you can't move and this is why, as soon as we start explaining the nuances of the second apron to that 16-year-old, he or she will have checked out and is like, I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to go to the Utah Hockey Club game tonight. It is... I think the Jazz are clearly one of the teams that by no fault of its own, I mean, yes, this is a rebuild, clearly. Clearly it is a planned rebuild. Understood. Then this apron world comes in. The Jazz are not a wild spending team. The Jazz are not paying $100 million or $80 million or $40 million in tax. By no fault of their own, the Jazz are stuck in this weird nowhere space because there's not enough teams out there able to make deals because of the aprons. It's crazy. The league adds the play-in tournament. Okay, cool. So now 20 teams have a shot instead of 16. So before the trade deadline, everybody thinks that they're in it. Trade deadlines earlier. Play-in tournament means everybody's still kind of mathematically in it for the most part. No one's going to be sellers. And the teams that probably want to sell can't make a deal because of the aprons. I go back to the start of the year. The Cat for Julius Randle trade should have been pretty easy. And it took those guys almost a week to pull it off. Those front offices in New York and Minnesota, almost a week to pull it off because of all the complexities of this new CBA. And I know Jazz fans don't care. I know they don't want to hear it. I know they're like, that shouldn't affect us. It absolutely does. It absolutely affects Jazz fans. And I feel like this is a franchise who's stuck on the wrong side of it. They just don't – they want to dance, but they don't have a dance partner. It's what I should have said 2 minutes ago before I just started rambling on. But that's the easiest way to say it. You got to have a dance partner to dance. And there's just not enough dance partners right now in the NBA for anybody.
But and also what that does, Tim, and I think another thing that frustrates fans is you get a situation where these teams then really the best way to build your team is through the draft, but to do that you've got to be bad to give yourself as many ping pong balls as you can get to go get that star player. And we've got a couple nice drafts coming up, and so teams like the Jazz and you see others, the Nets tore things down, the Pelicans are in a bad spot even though they've got a lot of talent on their roster. All these teams are incentivized to lose. How does the NBA deal with that problem when almost up to a third of the teams, maybe even more, in the league having more incentive to lose than to win?
And some of that third is going to end up in the play-in tournament without even trying to get there.
Right.
It's crazy, right? I do think there's going to be a point where apron world evens out. Like, it's going to be a fascinating summer for Boston. Like, they've got all their guys locked up. They're all on these massive deals. They're trying to sell the team in various pieces over the next X number of years, whatever it's going to be. The tax bill could be enormous. It already is. It could be, like, ginormous going forward. They're in a different spot, obviously, than Utah. It's just the other end of this apron spectrum. We put in a new set of rules while teams had teams built, while teams had their directions charted. We're going to go about our team this way. We're going all in right now, or we're going to just see how we are, or we're going to tank, whatever it is. And then we put in a whole new set of operating rules. It's like when your phone automatically does the update at night and you wake up and you can't find any of your apps. I kind of feel that's what happened to the NBA a little bit. It is frustrating. The only thing I can tell Jazz fans is, and I know this is not probably a very popular statement, I believe in Will Hardy. I do. Let's not forget the system he comes from primarily. Let's not forget the guy who taught him most of what seems to be running right now. There's obvious talent there. It's not enough to compete, and unfortunately the West is really, 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 really good.
Well,
stay patient. It's going to have to turn at some point.
We were speaking of, if you had on the bingo card a couple of years ago that Oklahoma City and Cleveland would be facing off against one another with at 31-4 and 30-5 on a night like now, like, hey, no, those are going to be the two hottest teams. Who's the real team out of those two who are facing off tonight between OKC and Cleveland?
Man, I really think it's OKC. I really do. And I know Dallas kind of exposed them a little bit last year. You just pester the heck out of Shea, and you wonder if the other guys are good enough or were big enough. I think size was an issue for them last year. So what do? They go out and get Hartenstein, who I think is a huge gift for them. They paid him a ton of money, but they now have another really big rim defender, tough guy coming into his own. I saw the Thunder in person here in Miami. I've seen them in Orlando. I've seen them in Vegas. I've been around them in person enough this year, plus watched not all their games on TV. I won't lie. I don't know, 15 maybe. They just seem like they've taken a step forward. Shea has taken a step forward. The MVP race this year is going to be crazy because how do you not give it to Shea when I think we can all agree that Jokic is still the best player? The MVP race is going to be wild. It's like, how do we define it? And this year is going to be nutso for that. I love what Cleveland's doing. I absolutely love watching them, love the way they play. And this isn't a knock, but I just look at them and I'm like, this kind of feels like a regular season thing to me and not something that's going to get out of the second round of the playoffs. I might be wrong. I still don't know if they beat Boston 4 times in a 7-game series. I don't know if they beat New York 4 times in a 7-game series. If Orlando gets healthy, I think they can give Cleveland problems. Remember, they took them to 7 last year in round 1. I think there's a lot more problems in the East for Cleveland than there are for OKC in the West.
These are two great teams, and Tim, it feels like 10, 15 years ago, if you had a matchup, let's say it's Lakers-Celtics with similar records in the regular season, like that would be must-see TV. Like that would be a big story that people across the country are talking about. Doesn't feel that way tonight, even though this game is just – It feels like a great game with the two best teams in the league, and it kind of goes to this question about where the NBA is right now with drawing in the casual sports fan in the country. And you've got Kevin Durant criticizing entitled NBA fans who are questioning players' effort. And you look around and you got a guy like Zion Williamson who plays last night and has this great dunk, and then he's not going to play tonight. And there's all these issues going on with the league and its popularity and viewership and all this stuff. Where are you at on that? What do you think the real issue is, and do you think it's that big of an issue, or is it overplayed?
Well, I think part of the problem tonight for Cavs Thunder is that the Stanley Cup champions are in Salt Lake City. I mean, clearly.
Said,
let's not forget.
we could tell where you're from. We could tell where you're from, and I love it. Everyone's watching the defending Stanley Cup champs for Utah. We are. That's where our focus is.
We were having this discussion yesterday. It was like, hey, you're hosting the Florida Panthers for the first time ever in your barn. You're hosting the defending Stanley Cup champions for the first time in your barn, and so obviously that's a huge thing. And you cover all these things, and so it's fun to watch. And obviously in South Florida to have a Stanley Cup champion team is wild, because that's just we're in the world of where the NHL is not just a global game; it's a Florida game. And give us an idea of what your thoughts are of a brand new franchise though in Utah, because we've had so much dang fun with it this year, seeing this club fire things up in Utah here at Delta Center.
Well, let me combine the two questions. The one I didn't answer about the NBA and the NHL. So I've covered the NBA since the night they drafted that guy from Marquette in the first round.
Yes.
So I've been covering this team for a long time. You guys know who he is. We don't have
Jazz
to
owner. Jazz
I was
part
going to
owner.
say part owner of the Utah Jazz. Come on.
The Jazz are aware.
Funny how both of our worlds collide here right in this moment.
I misspelled his name that night. I did not know he spelled his first name incorrectly. I didn't know. I spelled it right. It's you go to an NHL game right now, and the energy is just different. And I don't know why. I know the Panthers are good. Like, I went to 20 years of bad Panther games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you think the Jazz are having a moment, I encourage you to look at the history of the Florida Panthers. Their moments were decades. Their moments were generations of pain. It's the building was half empty. It was dead. You'd give tickets away and people still wouldn't go. You couldn't give people a free ticket to go to a hockey game. The NHL announced today 2 outdoor games coming to Florida next year. A game in Miami where the Marlins play, a game in Tampa where the Buccaneers play. 100,000 people are going to do outdoor games in Florida next winter. It's all changed real quick. You don't see that same energy in a lot of NBA games. Orlando, great building. Great building for fans. Great energy with Magic games. Great energy in Milwaukee for Bucks games. Always good energy in Cleveland for Cavs games. They've recovered from the shell shock of losing LeBron twice. They're back. OKC, incredible arena. Not enough NBA arenas are matching the energy of the NHL. I think it's fatigue of salary. I think it's fatigue of Zion's making how much, and he's missed how long, and now he's out again after one game, like you guys said. There's no hockey player making $51 million. There's no hockey player who's going to lose $2.4 million because he mouthed off against Pat Riley. Hypothetically, of course.
Right. You're talking about, right.
There you go. I don't know what I'd be talking about. I just think hockey right now is in a place where fans feel like they're getting more return on their luxury money investment. I have $200 to take my family to a game. I'm going to go sit in the cheap seats at Delta Center. I'm going to go watch Hockey Club. What is the nickname going to be, by the way? Do we know?
Probably the Yeti,
probably
but
the
that's
Yeti.
not. They're still working through a lot of legal stuff.
Don't love it. I don't.
We've all kind of gotten accustomed. What the effect of the Utah Hockey Club has been. Like people are starting to. They're really liking the hockey club thing, and I think the Yeti thing is all but done. And so that's going to be a weird transition, too. And I know they got to rip that Band-Aid off at one point, but, man, people have kind of gotten – because of the love that it's gotten, it's the hockey club. And I think that, people are collecting these sweaters from the first year, and they're going to hold on to these things for dear life because they're going to harken back to a time when they're not going to have a weird logo because there's going to be somebody who gets a hold of it from some graphic designer who just out of college is going to get a hold of this thing and give us a weird Yeti cartoon that you're going to start worshiping as a hockey fan. But, yeah, either way, I mean, it's been a bonkers ride for us here either way. We've been loving it.
Why don't we just go full soccer? Why don't we just go, instead of FC Barcelona, why don't we just go HC Utah?
HC Utah. Hey, we don't hate it here. And we have an amount of love for this team that's wild. So, I mean, I guess that Yeah, we've all gotten used to this weird thing this year where we're starting to love this team, and I think come January we're going to figure out come in the next couple months they're going to probably announce it.
Everyone's just glad that they have a team.
Yeah.
They don't really care about the name.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great. They'll figure out the seating. They'll figure out all the weird stuff. Like, I think it's great. And obviously it's a winter sports city. There's an Olympics coming back to Salt Lake in a dozen years or so, whatever it is. It's not actually less than that, 9 years now.
Yeah.
Olympics back there. It's wonderful. The NHL belongs in Salt Lake City. I'm not saying it doesn't belong in Phoenix. I hope they figure it out, but it's great that Salt Lake City got an NHL team. Mm-hmm. My point is, it's if a family of four can afford to go to, say, one game a winter, and we're going to do it right, we're going to get decent seats, and the kids are going to get jerseys, and everybody's going to get hot dogs, and my daughter's going to get the Utah Hockey Club bear mascot, whatever it is, and my son's going to get the toy stick and the whole. We're going to do it right. I think mom and dad feel like they're getting a lot more value from hockey club than they are the basketball club right now. Not knocking the Jazz. I just think in general with the NBA.
Yeah.
Because look at the upcoming schedule. All right, this team's coming. Well, you've got the Heat there tomorrow night. Now, you've known for a week that Jimmy Butler's not playing tomorrow. But what if it's a family that, what if mom and dad met at Marquette and they followed Jimmy through college? They're not going to see him. How many times does a star not play in Utah? How many times does a star not play when that team comes through your town once a year?
More than any other team in the NBA, Tim.
I know, and it's a real problem. It's a real problem, not just in Utah, but everywhere. It's wrong. And there's nothing, $50 million salaries, nothing's going to, every player in the league is its own little individual corporation right now. Look, they didn't demand the money. The league gave them the money. The CBA allows for these ridiculous, it's not ridiculous, it's what the market bears. But if a guy says, I don't feel it tonight, and he's making $700,000 that game, you're not going to risk it. That's why, you got to love the guys like Steph who understand, particularly in the East. I come through there once, they're going to see me. Whether he plays or not, he's going to get seen. There's still some really good guys in the league like that. LeBron has always taken that approach. It hasn't always worked out flawlessly, but LeBron knows people pay to see him. Yes, they want to see the Lakers, but they pay to see LeBron. Some guys get it. Hockey players, this guy's leg is broken in 6 places. He's questionable for tonight with a lower body injury. It's just a different mindset. And that's what I think the big difference between the NHL and the NBA is. And that's why the NHL knows it has a moment right now to really make some inroads in places like Miami, like Tampa. Obviously, they've won cups. Miami, the Panthers got the cup last year. It's working in warm weather cities where a lot of people didn't think it would because people are getting value. That's just what it is.
Tim Reynolds, he covers the NBA and all the other sports in South Florida, and he does a phenomenal job at it for the AP. And love having you on the program, Tim. We'd love to have you on again, and thanks for hanging out with us. And have fun watching the Hockey Club and the Panthers tonight for their first trip to Salt Lake City to Delta Center to take on the Hockey Club.
I cannot wait to watch HC Utah, and anytime you guys want me on, just let me know. Thanks, guys.
We'll send you a Yeti hat as soon as they put them out.
Love it.
You're first on the list.
Appreciate it, Tim. Thanks, man.
See you guys.
There you go. He's got about as much cover. I mean, he has to write about everything.
Tim's great, and he's been covering. He's covered the NBA for a long time, and specifically the Heat, and one of the best that does it. And so it was great to talk to him. And about a number of things.
You're winning championships for the Heat, and then suddenly the Panthers get good again. So at least somebody's playing well at some point all the time.
Yeah, it feels like Miami fans have been spoiled as of late.
Yeah. If only the Dolphins could come around. We'll see.
Someday.
All right. We got to take a break. When we come back, we've got some audio to play for you. I can't wait for you to hear it. It's Mick Cronin. He's the UCLA head coach. And when I saw this on my timeline today, I thought it was fake. I thought that somebody was taking it totally out of context. Nope. Every word of it was meant exactly for who he said it was for. It was not taken out of context. What Mick Cronin did when he went scorched earth, not just on his players, but his entire locker room, coaching staff, the ball girl, the water guy.
I think he called me out.
I think everyone got called out. Everybody sucks except for Mick Cronin. We're all coming back, and it's Mick Cronin's world, and we're all just lucky to be living in it. So stick with us right here, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you got. You're listening to JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, everybody. JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. Alex, Kirry, Jeremiah, Jensen, here with you as always, Monday through Friday.
Not a better way to kick off a segment than a little real big fish.
You were, when was that? Early 2000s that we went through the big band thing?
Mid-90s up to 2000, like the ska punk era.
Yeah.
SoCal punk was big.
Yeah.
Ska came back, kind of another wave of ska from the 80s.
So but then people were weirdly moshing and kicking each other?
Yes. Skanking.
Wow.
That's the proper dance term.
Skanking in my high school was very different from your definition.
Skank the night away.
Mm-hmm. Well, man, I will tell you, it's hard to be a college coach right now. I don't look, that for sure is a definite.
Yeah, but they're well compensated. Well compensated.
I know, but it's a weird
spare me
thing.
the tears.
It's a weird thing they're trying to figure out, right? Where they're sitting around and they're going, "Hey, how do we get these kids to stick in our program?" Well, this is one way to try. If you're Mick Cronin, UCLA's basketball head coach, he went off after their loss. Oh, who they lose to? Michigan yesterday?
Yes.
This is a top 25 UCLA team until last night. And they've been kind of hit and miss, and he's definitely feeling it. And Mick Cronin decided, you know what? I've got some things I want to say, and I want to air all this dirty laundry in public in my post-game press conference. Nobody is spared. Here's what he had to say after the game.
But we don't play. We're soft. So don't tell me you want to win. Just don't tell me you want to win. So don't tell me you want to win. It's crazy, and it's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice every day. I'm upset with everybody in that locker room, my assistant coaches and my players. I don't need to do anything else. I almost got 500 wins. I'm only 53. It's a joke. It's a joke. But yet I come in and I have more passion and energy and pride than everybody in. That's the problem. So what the truth of it has been, it's really hard to coach people that are delusional. The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are.
And with that, Mick Cronin has his entire team hit the transfer portal. Or do they take this? Does he know his guys way better than we do? And he's just like, you know what? I can say this and it's tough love. And they're going to respond. Or do you think that it's we're in an age now where these players can go, screw this, man. I'll go get some NIL money somewhere else. I don't need to be in Westwood. Come on, man. Mick Cronin just said, everybody else sucks here except for me. I don't have to do anything else. He went full. I'm trying to figure out who does this. Who does this? Who talks like this? I'm not sure I know any coach, even like Nick Saban. He would have pumped the brakes on this. And he had all the business in the world to say this kind of stuff. We're soft. We've heard coaches say that before. We're just so soft right now.
That's fine.
You're right.
I don't have a problem with that.
But he couldn't stop it himself, and then he just goes, no one cares about this program but me. Even I'm mad at everybody. I'm the one with the most energy. Why don't you hit the jump shots then, Shorty? I don't think so. You can't do this. You can't do this in 2025. You can't afford to because these guys are going to leave the program. And if you think that suddenly you're just going to get replaced by somebody who's hungry enough, that's not what – come on, man. Here's the thing, though. He's not wrong. Guys are definitely delusional about how amazing they are. But these are the guys you have, and you got to coach them up. And this ain't the way to do it. There's just no way. I don't know his locker room, JJ. So maybe we're speaking out of school here. But he went full scorched earth on everybody. Calling out everybody to this fashion publicly is a bit much. And I just don't think it's the way to do it. And again, Mick Cronin's getting what? How much did he get paid?
$4.1 million this year.
Per. All right.
At UCLA, one of the top jobs in the country.
Took him to a Final Four a couple years ago. Took him to a national championship game, right? Against Gonzaga.
Yeah. He also gets retention bonuses.
If he retains guys, because this ain't going to do it.
No, if he's still on the payroll, he gets bonuses for still getting.
Right.
This is okay. Look, whatever your coaching strategies are, guys have different styles. Whatever it is, right? Like Jared Calhoun. Let me give Coach Calhoun up at Utah State an example. The other night, they didn't play well against Fresno State. I mean, they go on this incredible road run where they win at St. Mary's. Right. They beat San Diego State in front of the show at Viejas. Incredible win. Dagger 3 at the end. Awesome game. And then they also win in Reno at Lawler, which is tough against a really good Nevada team who is struggling a little bit right now, but they've played really tough teams.
Yeah, but Fresno's got like 3 wins this year, right?
Exactly.
And
4 to be exact. BYU beat them by 30-something, to give you some context. And Fresno State has not won a Mountain West game yet. And Utah State was down double figures in the first half against Fresno State.
Right.
They rallied to win, but Jared Calhoun called out his team after the game. So for the first time this year, I feel like I really had to coach hard during a game because they just weren't – he called them out that you guys have been doing great so far this year, and this is the first time this year where I had to feel like I had to intervene and fire you guys up and get you guys going. I'm paraphrasing. I don't know his exact sound. We have it buried somewhere in our system here, but – my point is that's okay. That's fine. You're calling out your team, trying to get more effort out of them. It's not pointing a finger at one individual player. You're talking to the group about how you need better play out of them. Nothing wrong with that. But Coach Calhoun didn't go up there and say, I was ready tonight. Man, I was fired up. I brought the energy when we came into the arena tonight. I was at my best. My assistant coaches weren't, though. They didn't show up tonight. And my players, they're all entitled brats. See how it sounds now?
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Doesn't stink.
I'm the only one who cares about this program. And frankly, I don't have to prove anything to anybody because I'm good, man.
Not leadership. That was ridiculous. That was a horrible, horrible way to go in front of a camera and a microphone. Mick Cronin, there's PR classes on the campus of UCLA. Go take one. That was horrific. What are you doing, man?
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to call out your team and try to motivate them and get them going or push the right buttons. For you to get up there in front of everybody and say your assistant coaches aren't very good, your players are this and that, calling them, what did he call them?
No, not entitled. It was delusional.
Delusional.
Soft and delusional.
Soft and delusional.
Ooh, that sounds like a tasty
treat. You
it?
Bring the energy to practice. You bring, like you do. The buck stops with you, bro. Why aren't you holding yourself accountable right now? Point. You're all on the same team. You're all in the same locker room. You're all in the same dogfight together. You cannot separate yourself from them and say that you're better than them or you're above them, including your assistant coaches. Otherwise, you're going to have a fracture. And he caused a fracture last night of a very good basketball team that was in the top 25. Mick Cronin should be embarrassed. And if his buyout wasn't so big, if I was the athletic director, I'd fire him.
Do you think that today it's a bunch of backtracking with his team, and do you think there's some apologizing there, or do you think it's more
knowing
like
the history of Mick Cronin, he's not going to apologize for anything.
And I guess in that case, you kind of go, well, I guess these players know what they get with this guy, which is
that's true. You signed up for this. It's kind of like when guys played at Utah for Majerus.
Right. You knew that this guy. You knew that this guy was going to come after you.
There was plenty of stories around. Everybody knew. So, but you had a chance to go play at Utah, and you had a good chance to win championships. So you put up with all the weird stuff.
Well, so let's say Rick Majerus said this from his hotel room, right? To
his credit, I don't remember him ever not holding himself accountable. Maybe sometimes.
But that's what I'm asking is like at some
Patrick
point,
Kinahan would be able to correct me on that.
But would you, if Nick Saban always got to the point of almost getting there with this, where he would get critical of his guys at the podium, but he was also the most important coach in the history of college football. In the middle of that run, we knew it. Like, we knew how good he was, and players would kind of just do and put up with anything they needed to be able to stay playing for Coach Nick Saban. But by the way, Nick Saban got results. And I know that Mick Cronin has a Final Four appearance.
And I feel like he always had his players' backs.
Yes.
I've never heard a former Alabama player, come out and say Nick Saban
You know
was
that
a
they
tool.
have. You know, there's some guys who have beefs with him, and he's got beef with guys who played for him. For sure,
But it's
not
never
everybody's
been-
a member of the
it's-
family.
It's never been public. And I just mentioned Majerus. There was plenty of guys that had a lot to say about
Right.
Majerus. There was former coaches that worked for him
Right.
that have had plenty to say. But I've never heard that with Saban. I could be wrong. But it just feels a little bit different. And I understand Saban's old school, but this was different. This was I'm better than everybody else. And this is a coach trying to push everything away from him and say, don't blame me. This is not my fault. I'm doing great.
Right.
I got 500 wins. Don't look at me.
His assistants want to keep getting the paycheck, so they're not going to say anything.
Sure.
The players are getting a paycheck also. And so I think the delusional part is, according to him, I think that there's this delusional, entitled. But, I mean, this is college basketball. This is UCLA college basketball. You can't think of a more historic. I guess what you should do is, and I guess maybe we look at it and we go, look, the best that ever was in coaching college basketball, John Wooden, at this very exact university in Westwood, would he ever have said something like this about his guys?
Oh, come on. Or about himself. Did John Wooden ever brag about how many wins he had?
Nope. And I guess this is
to absolve himself of any responsibility for a loss?
That's a tough standard to put a coach up next to, but you're also at UCLA.
That's exactly that. Sorry,
you're at UCLA, dude.
You said the players, you know what you're signing up for. Mick Cronin took the job at UCLA. You know what you're signing up for.
Are you bigger than him?
And plenty of
be
coaches that have taken that job have drowned in those expectations before. Sorry, it's one of the storied schools, programs in college basketball history, probably the most.
Yep.
And so get over that. You need to be better. You have to be up to that standard, that Wooden standard. I'm sorry, that's what's required at UCLA.
What if your kid played for Mick Cronin? By the way,
he wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't.
I mean, if you're watching a game and you struggle, your kids struggle at Michigan and they lose a game and it's bad, and you go, man, they had a terrible night tonight. And then you hear the head coach who recruited your son or daughter, and he rolls this out.
I wouldn't feel very good about it.
Be tough, man.
I'd have no problem with the coach challenging my kid. I'd have a problem with the coach saying that, teaching my kid that that he's not responsible.
Right. He doesn't take any of the blame for them losing a
He's
basketball
not teaching
game.
those kids the right lesson in that moment. That if you're at such a level, you're absolved of any responsibility for others that are under your watch.
I know they're all getting paid now, but the buck does not stop with 19-year-old.
No,
it stops with this old guy who's got 500 wins and is 53.
Hey, that's fair. If these kids are getting paid, demand more out of them. That's fine. But you're getting paid a lot too, Mick Cronin. $4.1 million per year. The buck stops with you.
Yeah, it's your program, not theirs. Come on.
Take responsibility and have these kids' backs. Don't do that to them publicly. Don't do that to your assistant coaches who work their tails off, who do the real work while you sit there and act like you're important because you got 500 wins at age 53. Good for you, Mick. All-time great coach.
Ridiculous. All right.
Doesn't care. He's making $4.1 million per year. He doesn't care what we think.
Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got coming up around the corner our Would You Rather segment, okay? And then at 4 o'clock, Mike Folta, Utah Hockey Club radio play-by-play, going to join us right here in this very studio as the Hockey Club take on the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers tonight. All of that coming straight up, so stay right here. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Listen, everybody! Real-life hypotheticals to get your brain churning. As JJ and Alex ask, would you rather?
All right, everybody. Welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Hey, on Friday, we're going to be down at the Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy for the Salt Lake Home Show. A couple times a year, the Home Show comes into Salt Lake, and it is a massive deal. And we're going to be there with the folks at Advanced Window Products. We're going to be there with Nate and Jake, the entire crew, And it's a thing we get to do a couple times a year. It's awesome. Love doing it. So we'll be down there at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy on Friday. All right. Would you rather? I'm trying to think if would you rather your kid play for a tough love coach, or I don't know. I mean, Mick Cronin, that's not even tough love. It's just kind of a dirtbag. That's a
different planet.
I don't even know what I think he probably signs it off like, oh, this is tough love right here. But would you rather your kid play for the old school like Mike Gundy type, or for the guy who just is like, hey man, whatever you need, bro, whatever you, hey, like is the friend of the player. You know what I mean?
Can't we have both? Why can't you do both?
Doesn't Kalani Sitake feel like he's a little bit like he's both, right? Where he's like the tough love guy.
You would consider him a player's coach,
right?
But he has to make tough decisions. And I'm sure if we talk to Connor and other people, like there's some times when he's got to get into some people,
and he
right?
does. I'm sure he does.
And he can get fiery, but does anybody down there not think that he doesn't have their back?
But there's an amount of equity that a guy like Kyle Whittingham has. Like, he's not your lovey-dovey coach, at least in front of the media, right? But what he is every one of those guys would die for Coach Witt. Almost everybody, right?
I don't hear very many that have bad things to say about him. There's always respect. Doesn't mean they were best buddies, but there was always respect, and they have the family thing up there, and I think that that's always been the case. Now, not everybody, I'm sure. There's probably some exceptions to the rule that feel that way, but it's in the small minority based on my experience in 20 years covering it.
Okay, how about this? Would you rather? Let's say you're a big time college recruit. Let's say you're big time, and you're getting that money. You're getting paid in college. Would you rather make $5 million in college and be a very mediocre pro? Like maybe you only earn that much in your career, or a $2 million in college guy, and you're a pretty decent pro though.
You want to be the pretty decent pro. You want to be the best at the highest level. $2 million versus $5 million, whoopity doo. You'll make that in the NBA. Let me throw one your way. Who would you rather play for, Mick Cronin or Kevin Young?
Oh, I don't know Kevin Young very well. Like I don't know what I'm seeing out of that guy yet. I don't know.
It's early. It's first year, and things have not been smooth.
I'll just tell you,
team's up and down.
After hearing Mick Cronin, I never want to play for Mick Cronin ever.
Right.
Like that guy,
dude can call you out. He can coach your kids hard and call. But if you make it very clear that you're more important than everybody else, then
I'll run lines. I'll run lines during practice when you don't do it right. But you know what? When a guy calls you out in front of everybody in public, and by the way, that takes away your earning potential too. When a guy goes, "This is a bunch of delusional dudes.
Right?
They're not as good as they think they are."
Is that going to end up on your draft report?
And by the way, that speaks poorly about your own recruiting, right?
NBA teams are like, man, this guy had some really good moments, but Mick Cronin said he's delusional.
So Mick Cronin, let me get this straight. You recruited a bunch of delusional guys? Perfect.
Right. Again,
that's on you, bro.
It all falls on the head coach.
Okay.
He brought those kids into the program.
Let's take a break. Mike Folta, Utah Hockey Club radio play-by-play, is going to join us right here in studio. You don't want to miss it. Utah Hockey Club tonight versus the Florida Panthers. Also don't want to miss that. The Stanley Cup champs are in town. Stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. 97.5 EKSL Sports Zone. Alex Kirry, Jeremiah Jensen, JJ and Alex. Every day right here, 3 to 6, 3 to 7, certain nights. Tonight's one of those nights. We're going to take you all the way up till 7 p when pregame fires up for this Utah Hockey Club. Puck drops tonight at 8, right? We got a later drop than
nationally
usual.
Televised.
The eyes of the hockey world are upon Utah this evening.
Look at that! Those dulcet tones that you hear on the microphone, by the way, the radio voice of the Utah Hockey Club, Mike Folta, joining us here in studio. Mike, thanks for joining us, man. We get to talk to you over the phone a couple times, but being in studio, it's always fun to be able to chat with you and actually be able to see you. Thanks for coming down, man.
Yeah, I think we'll keep it on the phone from here on out. It was nicer to have that distance.
It's gonna be a tough commute for you to walk the 98 feet over to Delta Delta Center.
Yeah, you must
think I'm walking it.
exhausted.
You're crazy. I'm taking one of those. Taking one of those scooters.
Oh, yeah, get one of those guys with the bikes out there.
That's what they're for.
I know.
Why not?
Our program brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. Give it a shot. If you're doing the meal replacement thing at the beginning of the year here, like so many people, jump on with that G2G Bar. Let's get it going. We'll get in officially here with the cut. Mike's going to join us, and we're going to get into some hockey. The first segment of every hour is the cut, and we're going to jump in right here.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And the cut brought to you by an incredible selection of Kia, Subaru, Chevy, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram. And, of course, now the family of Doug Smith dealerships have welcomed Mitsubishi into the family. So American Fork, Spanish Fork, and now in Linden, of course, where the new Kia dealership is. Nobody knows cars like Doug. And nobody knows the Utah Hockey Club like Mike Folta, the play-by-play radio hockey voice of this Utah Hockey Club. We just had a national writer on, Tim Reynolds from South Florida, who covers the Panthers, and he's like, "What are you guys gonna do with this mascot?" And he's like, "What? Just keep the HC. I like the HC. You're gonna go to this dumb Yeti thing." And I was like, maybe, we don't know." What, we haven't heard anything. What are you hearing about the mascot these days? When are we supposed to be hearing something? Let's get some movement going on in this thing.
If I knew, I would let you guys know first. I know nothing. I like Yeti. I've heard some people say they like just Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah.
But as a play-by-play guy, it drives me nuts because I'm just supposed to say Utah, right, on radio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Utah up over the line. Utah on the corner. Utah leads 2-1. Now here comes 3 Utah skate. Like, it gets exhausting. Give me another word that I can use to describe this team. So I'm rooting for mascot, whatever it is.
You want some sort of weird animal to be out there on some skates in a big old goofy outfit.
Look, it's not a soccer team, okay? This is North American sports. You need the name of your city and a mascot. So we'll get there. It's going to happen soon. But just how much of a thrill has this been for you? I mean, a little bit of background. You're from the Midwest. We were talking about in the break. How incredible has it been for you to get your call to the big leagues now and to be a part of what this has been so far? And you're getting caught up in the same energy that we are with this brand new club.
It's been a dream, honestly. I mean, it's been kind of everything that I hoped it would be for me in NHL year number 1 and then some. I mean, I think back to early October, our third game of the year when we beat the New York Rangers 6-5 in overtime at the Garden.
Isn't that incredible?
like, are you kidding me? And then we've had so many memorable moments since then, so many of which have been here at Delta Center. And to be a part of writing the story in year 1 has been special. It's been rewarding, and hopefully it's meant something to the fans like it's meant to me, because it's been awesome, and we're not even halfway through yet, which is the cool part.
Well, this team they've had quite a run of some crazy road trips so far this year. Bear even kind of made mention there. He's like, "Oh, we've had our share of hitting the road," and now you guys are home for 7 straight home games starting tonight with this Florida Panthers team coming in. It's crazy to think that Florida won that the Florida Panthers. We were just talking with Tim Reynolds last hour. He's like, "Look, you think the Jazz are going through a struggle right now? That's a franchise who's had some real problems for long stretches of time where they've had to fight through getting the fan base into it, losing a lot of games year after year after year, and now they're Stanley Cup champions, and they've been to the Stanley Cup Finals the last 2 seasons. They're Eastern Conference champions the last 2. This team coming in, how big of a deal is it to have them come into this barn and to see them for the first time that they've come here, but also hoisting that Stanley Cup as defending champs? That's a crazy thing to think right now.
Well, the Florida Panthers, I think more so than any other team in the NHL, prove that hockey in general, but the NHL can work anywhere. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it with Nashville. We saw it in Tampa with a couple of cups here in the last couple of years, but you think of Miami, it's a sports town, but it's also a beach town, a vacation town. I mean, look at the Miami Dolphins. That's a big brand in one of the world's biggest leagues, the NFL, and they don't even fill Hard Rock Stadium for every game. And yet the Florida Panthers, after winning a Stanley Cup, are averaging 19,000 fans in a 20,000-seat arena. Like, they're basically filling it every night, and that's even on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, what have you. So the Panthers proving that hockey can work. Not just can you win, but it can work from a fan base perspective anywhere. should be encouraging for fans here in Utah, where this is a state that's only produced 5 NHL players up until now. There are more players coming out of Florida than there have been coming out of Utah, which is crazy considering this is a winter sports haven. But the Panthers' success should tell you the NHL is for everybody. And a great example of that, this coming from the NHL earlier today, the Panthers are going to be hosting an outdoor game coming up. That's going to be at, I believe, one of the parks down in Miami. I think where the
Marlins play.
Right, where the Marlins play. I don't know the name of the stadium.
They were saying it was going to be, and it's not just.
It's going to be the baseball
It's
stadium.
going to be the baseball stadium. They're going to do a couple of them.
Yeah. Aren't they doing one in Tampa?
Yeah, they're going to do one in Tampa as well.
That's
and
at
they're
Raymond James. Yeah,
and they're saying, look, they're going to be sold out immediately
in Florida in the winter. I mean,
I don't know how it works.
I got to keep the ice. I don't care. I mean, it's cool, but it's just crazy that it's taken off. It shows you're exactly right, Mike. That wherever the sport is played at a high level, people are going to embrace it and love it. And hockey's been in this market forever. Shout out to the Golden Eagles and the Grizzlies for a long time.
Amen.
Great hockey. And you work the minor leagues, but to have the NHL here now has just been phenomenal. And you've been around hockey all over the country. I wanted to get your view on how you think everybody here is doing with embracing this team. Yeah. You've been able to see this community take it on in a very short period of time. And everyone's learning. A lot of people that aren't familiar with it. Some have been diehard fans, but of other clubs. So what have you been able to observe in coming here in this market at this time and seeing how people are embracing the game?
Well, I think hockey in Utah, and this is not just a PR response, but it's a perfect fit. I mean, Delta Center is literally on John Stockton Boulevard, right? Or Avenue or whatever it may be. Like, this is a sports community that embraces and craves hard work, right? And those kind of blue collar guys that are going to dive on the floor for a loose ball in basketball or go to the corner in hockey and try to win a puck battle. And that's, yes, what this team is in Utah. There's a lot of grinders on this Utah Hockey Club, but it's kind of what hockey is in general. And hockey is a sport that as a whole values hard work. That's a given. And it also values camaraderie and teamwork and everybody pulling on the rope the same way. And you have guys that are defending their teammates by punching other guys in the face, right? So, like,
it's very relatable for the common guy.
Well, sure, maybe for you, JJ, but seriously, like, it's a perfect fit. I think the mentality of the sport and how team focused hockey is compared to the communal spirit of Salt Lake City and Utah as a whole.
No,
where's this hockey club right now in terms of kind of where they? You look at it's been a rough couple of weeks. Obviously, they were doing so well on the road, and then they hit that wall on the road. And being at home is no kind of relief for this team yet so far either. Hoping to kind of get things on track with the 7-game streak at home that they're going to be able to have. So right now at 41 points and 17-15 on the season, coming off that overtime heartbreaker at Dallas, that was a tough one. But there are these flashes of brilliance that we've seen from this team.
Yeah.
Where are they at right now? Kind of, I know that people are going, well, let's see if they can make a playoff run. It's a long season, yet at the same time, we're almost halfway there. So now, where is this team, and how do they turn that corner to be able to start climbing up those standings here in the Central Division?
From mid-November on, this team has been, I would say, right on that cusp of climbing to the upper half, the upper regions of the NHL in terms of standing. I would say the overtime loss against Dallas a couple nights ago was one of the best games that this team has played. From an analytics perspective, going up against a Dallas Stars team that is one of the best teams in the NHL and was one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup coming into this season. And Utah has a puck go off their skate, and then Dallas bangs one in overtime, and you pick up a point, but you don't get the 2 points. So this team is really close. It's right there. This team was not expected to make the playoffs this year, and here they are competing for a playoff spot, which is, I think, the overarching goal. This team wants to be playing meaningful games come March and April, and that's what they're doing right now. And that's why tonight is a great test against Florida, the second best team in the Atlantic Division, and a team that knows how to win after going to the finals each of the last two. The road trip was disappointing, the 4-game road trip in which Utah only took 3 out of a possible 8. One thing I'll mention, too, in that flu bug going around, during that 4-game stretch.
There's a lot of guys losing time with the illnesses.
Yeah, you lose your captain for one game. You lose other guys at certain points. You had guys getting IVs before the game. So a really tough 4-game stretch there for Utah. And also just scheduling-wise, we have the Four Nations break coming up in February. That's like 2 weeks off. That's a lot more time off than what we normally get.
Just
in
the
NHL.
All-Star break is not that long.
Yeah, so it condenses the schedule. And in the first half, Utah's had a really road-heavy schedule, which means that road schedule gets condensed even more than what it normally was. Utah's played the fewest home games out of anybody in the league entering tonight. And so the road record's not great, but it's also skewed because of how much they've been on the road this year.
Yeah, we all know where they're at, and GM Bill Armstrong's been very clear on where they're at in the rebuild process, and they're close, but they're still in that mode. And you look at where they are, they're actually right on schedule where he told us they would be. There was going to be ups and downs, highs and lows, but this team is obviously very talented, and you get to see them every single night. This team is talented, and it's young. I think that's the most exciting thing. What are you observing about this team and how good this team could be in the future? Because while we can be impatient as fans, everybody wants to get to the point where the Florida Panthers are. And it's clear that they've got some of the pieces that are going to allow them to get there. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, I mean, you think of Connor McDavid, who was the Conn Smythe winner, the playoff MVP last year. Yeah. His Edmonton Oilers lost to Florida in the finals, but that was the first time McDavid, who's considered to be the best player in the league, that was the first time he had been to the finals, and he's now 27 in NHL year number 10 this year, 9 last year. So, like, you think of Utah's young players, the captain and leading scorer, Clayton Keller's 26. Your second leading scorers, Dylan Guenther, 21, Logan Cooley, 20. Like, the young core, the core of this team is still, like, years behind where these other superstars have been in their trajectory. I mean, Nathan McKinnon, also in his late 20s, he didn't get to the finals until his late 20s. It takes a couple years for these guys to get to that elite status. And so Florida is a great example of that because maybe the common hockey fan wouldn't know names like Alexander Barkov or Aaron Ekblad, but those guys have been with this Florida team since the very beginning, and they're in year 10 or 11 or something like that.
And they took their lumps.
And yes, and now they're part of the experienced core that expects to win. And so it takes time. Hockey's different than other sports. It's not like basketball. You get one guy and boom, it changes.
Right.
And then that's what I was talking to earlier. It is such a team sport, it's the ultimate team sport, where it truly takes a 20-man roster to get to and win a Stanley Cup. And so Utah's in a good spot here. I would say they're overachieving right now, but you have to beat the teams that you're better than. And that's one thing that this young team has struggled to do a little bit. We've seen a couple losses to the Anaheim Ducks, one to the San Jose Sharks.
Oh, that was a bad one.
There's some winnable games coming up in this homestand, and you need to push those teams below you further down.
Yeah.
Mike Folta, radio play-by-play voice of the Utah Hockey Club, joining us here on JJ and Alex as we get you ready for the Panthers, who are coming to town tonight, and they've struggled on the road in this roadie, right? I mean, they just got beat up by the Avs a couple nights ago, and I think when we were talking yesterday, who were we talking to? Was that covers the Panthers? Oh, David DeWork. He said, "Look, this road trip has not been kind to the Panthers, and long road trips for these teams that are out east coming out west. The teams out west know coming out east is tough too. But what do they do really, really well? What does this Panthers team do exceptionally well that makes them so difficult to take on, and the champions that they are?
They come in waves. They've got a lot of really good hockey players that the everyday fan might not know. I mentioned Sasha Barkov, or Alexander Barkov as they call him, and he's truly one of the best players in the league. His offensive stats might not say that, but he is elite defensively, maybe the best defensive forward in the league. He was a Selke winner last year, which that award goes to the best defensive forward. So he's kind of leading the charge. They play with an edge, too, though. Guys like Matthew Tkachuk and Sam Bennett, they've been known to get a fine here or a suspension there for sometimes taking a tiptoe across that edge. But that edge kind of gives them the propulsion that they've needed in the playoffs, and that's that next level of competitiveness that Utah will need to learn to win playoff series in the future.
You see a lot of coaches come and go in the NHL. I think the numbers are crazy. We've already had coach firings this year, 7 last season. And so I say that because I want to get your thoughts on Bear Turney. you have a front row seat every night watching him do his thing. You see him at practices, and you see him in all these different environments. See him on the road. What is it about him that's perfect for this group at this time?
Well, I wonder if when you guys have interviewed him, he's ever if you've ever asked him a question about the future and he said, no, I'm thinking about tonight.
No, this is not a game. Our guy are focused on tonight game only, you know. And you're like, okay, I get it. But he's also like, I think that's what I told him the other day. I was like, you look so hardcore on that. I mean, on that bench, he just looks
the grizzly bear. Yeah,
he has a reason. You know, he's the bear. And
he's intimidating,
I was like,
and he doesn't even mean to be intimidating.
I said, you know, there was a goal scored, and they won the game. It was the one that they had won in overtime. Sergachev put that against Vancouver. They put that back in it, and they show the bench, and Bear starts writing something down. It looks like he's pissed. You know, he's just like, and I said, what were you writing? He goes, I remember that exact moment when you were saying. And I go, what were you writing down? And he's like, well, it wasn't my grocery list. It was what did he? he was like, there's just a couple things that I say. He goes, I don't write a lot of stuff down often, but like he was just like, I want to work on X, Y, and Z in practice. I thought this guy grinds all the time, you know, and these guys. Bill Armstrong grinds all the time. Chris Armstrong is like constantly thinking, how do we improve this front office? How do we get things going? And that's what's crazy about this is that this entire top to bottom, every person that we've talked to, it's like the vision is being set forward there and everybody has the same vision.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what professional league it's in. That sounds like it should be the standard at every place in every city, and it's not. It just is people are on different pages all the time, and this feels like a club that they know what page they're all on, and I just feel like a guy like Bear Turney fits exactly into a team like this because they're in an interesting spot because, like you said, Bill Armstrong always brings it up. What are they in we're in year 4 of a rebuild here. Like we're not a championship team here.
That's why I bring that up because you have that situation where they're clearly still in a rebuild, but you look around the league and guys are getting fired left and right, and it's the coaching in the NHL seems
worst
more
job
volatile
security
than any other league. I swear.
Yeah. So and hockey's weird too because a lot of times you'll see teams go on a run after a coaching change. Like go last year with the Edmonton Oilers, Chris Knoblauch comes in and in November I think it was, and then Edmonton goes on a run and goes all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals. But with Andre Tourigny, you've got the grizzly bear, which you know we can all see on the bench sometimes. There was once we blew a lead to San Jose, and I think he said he got 30 minutes of sleep. He was in the office at 4 o'clock the next morning after a game. But there's also the teddy bear. And Nick Schmaltz, one of Utah's leading scorers, had a rough start to the year goal-scoring-wise. He was snake-bitten. He couldn't buy one. And he was about to go on the longest goalless drought of his 9-year NHL career. And he hit a post one game. And the TV broadcast caught it perfectly. They showed Andre Tourigny literally moving over on the bench, putting his arm around Schmaltz, who was just had a 1,000-yard stare, right? Like, couldn't believe he hadn't scored and was just distraught. He puts his arm around Schmaltz, and he's telling him, you know, hey, the next one's going to go in. You're gonna get one that goes in off a skate. Like, soon, once that dam breaks, they're going to start falling. So you have the grizzly bear, and you also have the teddy bear. There's a good cop, bad cop. In a lot of NHL rooms, there's maybe if there's a bad cop, if that's the head coach, one of the assistants will be the good cop. Bear can kind of play a little bit of both sometimes, and I think his presence in the moment and his focus on the task at hand that night, like I know he has tonight against Florida, is something that I notice and I know the players do as well. It's fun to chat with him.
Mike Folta, he's the radio play-by-play voice of this Utah Hockey Club, and he's nice enough to spend some extra time here with us on JJ and Alex. Mike, we appreciate it, man. We love doing this kind of stuff because we just every interview that we do and everything that we can learn more about this team and kind of see how this process is working and how this season is going along here. I mean, it's one thing if a team comes brand new into town and they only have 13 points, you know, on the season, and that's not this club, man. It's there's a lot of promise. I think a lot of fans are excited.
Product.
And it's just so fun to watch and to listen to night in and night out. You're doing a phenomenal job, man. So we congratulate you on coming in. We're glad and not just coming in with us, but coming in and taking over the play-by-play duties. It's very nice of you. Very nice of you to do that.
No, the broadcast sounds incredible, and I hope you're having fun here in Salt Lake and having a good time.
It's a blast, and keep our ratings up, guys. That lead in.
You're putting pressure on us.
So. There you go. Well, it's a lot easier to go. Hey, when you have the hockey club coming up, someone goes, "Oh, I was going to turn it." No. I'm going to keep it on.
Yeah, I'll suffer through these two knuckleheads until the hockey game starts.
Well, Mike, appreciate it, man, and have a good call tonight, and we'll should be nice to be home for the next 7 games at least.
Yeah, it'll be great. Rally towels tonight as well, I've been told at least. So
if people come in, they're going to be on their seats or what?
I believe they will be on the seats tonight.
Phenomenal.
National TV game. We want to put on a good face for the rest of the country.
Oh, let's get it going. Let's get it going. Well, Mike, we appreciate it, man.
It's going to be
Thanks
rocking
again.
over there tonight. It's going to be great.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner when we do. We're going to jam on some of these. We knew these were going to be big college basketball games last night, and mixed results from across the board here locally. But we'll talk about all that next. Stay with us, 97.5 BKSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen,
The biggest name. You're locked into JJ and Alex with the insight and analysis on the teams you can't live without. Presented by G2G Bars. This is 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5 VKSL Sports Zone. Happy Wednesday to you. Win Ticket Wednesday, by the way. Coming up next segment, we've got some stuff to give away because it is that Win Ticket Wednesday. So we're going to give away some tickets next segment. Don't want to miss any of that. JJ, want to remind people they can nominate the Youth Sports Volunteer in their neck of the woods with the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit that nomination at kslsports.com/contest. Listen every Thursday to our program, and we'll roll those winners out for you. And we can celebrate the efforts of those local volunteers that do an amazing job with the Hercules Hero of the Week. It's sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals, both of which throw into the pot some extra goodies for the people who win that award. So you can submit that person, whether it's a team mom, the awesome ref who does not get enough credit or frankly has to deal with a lot. You can nominate that person, kslsports.com/contest. All right, college basketball world. The Aggies go into San Jose State. They get a win. Not a shock because San Jose is not very good. The Spartans not putting up much of a fight, and frankly, the fans didn't put up much of a fight.
They
to
put
show
up a fight. That was a grinder.
Well, it wasn't an easy game.
San Jose State made 12 threes?
They made double-digit three-pointers, and I remember I tuned in while the game was being called, and
it was
I thought,
a slog.
And I was like, hey, now, this should not be that close. But, every night's a tough one. But this Utah State team is now 15-1 of the season, and next up is Boise State. But they get the win there. BYU wins a tough one at home against Texas Tech. We talked about it yesterday. They're 1-2 in conference play. You cannot afford to lose a bunch of games at home, and losing to Texas Tech, who, by the way, they're on a 3-game losing streak now to the Red Raiders. I mean, you remember last year they had a hard enough time against them in the regular season. They lose to them down there in Lubbock, and then they lose to them in the Big 12 in the Big 12 tournament. And then yesterday, not getting enough out of their guys there down in. What's going on with Kevin Young's team right now? What has to happen for them to turn that corner?
No pun intended. They're young. And you look at the guys. I mean, Jaeger Demon is the best player on that team, but he's a freshman and he's struggling right now.
Yeah.
So when the best player on your team is struggling, you're going to struggle. BYU lost the game last night because they couldn't make threes, and they were 57% from the foul line. Ugh. If they go 80% from the foul line, they win that game, because it makes up for the 5 points that they were behind.
Yeah.
You got to make your free throws, especially at home. And it's really that simple. You got to make baskets. They didn't make enough threes. They had the shots. They missed them. And they went to the line, and they didn't capitalize. They missed the freebies. And that's a sign of a young team. And there are some veteran guys up on that team, obviously. But when the best player on your team is a freshman, you're going to have some ups and downs. And Richie Saunders can't score 30 every night.
No.
So you can't depend on that either. So this team is struggling to find some consistency. And it had been on the road in the past, but last night it caught them at home. And now you start to worry with BYU, because I believe talent-wise that's an NCAA tournament team. But you got to start getting W's, or you're going to start falling farther away from that bubble line. And right now they're on the wrong side of it. And they've got to get some quality wins. The good news is they're going to have chances for that. You got a lot of quad one win opportunities ahead, but it's a tough road ahead. These are really good teams you're playing night in and night out, and Utah found that out last night at Iowa State.
Yeah, that game, they go to Iowa State in Ames. They just beat the absolute tar out of Baylor over the weekend there on their home court. and they welcome Utah in. Utah's got a long way to go, but at the same time, there's a little bit better effort out of Craig Smith's guys there. I mean, I know that doesn't seem like it when they lose by 20-something points, but that's an Iowa State team who is one of the. I mean, what are they, top 3? Are they the number 3
team in the country? Yes.
So a really, really good basketball team. What has to happen for Craig Smith and his guys to be able to turn that corner? Is this more of a 3-4 years down the line type of a deal? The reality is now in college basketball more than ever, they're like, you better turn it all around and start winning again, like right now. Because people see programs like Utah State and they go, oh, they can just plug in a new coach wherever they're at and they can just start going to NCAA tournaments year in and year out. That's not the case in the Big 12. This is a really, really freaking competitive league. And Utah is a place right now that's just been absolute stung by, not being able to bring in the right talent and not being able to have the consistency. And I don't know what to think about this Utah basketball program kind of going forward here.
I don't either. And I think there's a lot of frustration. And we've talked about it. And I talked with Sly when he was in on Monday. We talked about this. Has Utah basketball reached the point of, when your team's struggling and you're frustrated, people voice it, right? So right now, you're Utah football fans. They're just very, very frustrated with last season, but it was still a hot topic. Like, people still talked about it. People still went to the games. People are still consuming media coverage and information about Utah football, even though they went 5-7. Well, the Runnin' Utes, they've struggled for so long and have been on the wrong end for so long that apathy starts to set in among the fan base. And I feel like Utah sports fans would rather talk about the women's team right now, who are in the top 25, ranked 22 in the country, and have a big one coming up tonight at the Huntsman Center against a ranked Kansas State team. They'd rather us talk about that than their men's team. That's a problem for Utah men's basketball, and that's a question the athletic director is going to have to address and answer. We know Craig Smith can coach. He did a fabulous job. Craig Smith's part of the reason why Utah State has reached the consistency they're enjoying right now. So do I believe Craig Smith is he can coach, but you're only good as your players. And I just don't think they have the horses. I just don't think they have enough. Obviously, Gabe Madsen's a great player, but who's the other guy that's going to get 15 or 20 a night? Who's the other guy? Who's their defensive stopper? Who's protecting the rim? You know what I mean? Who's their court general? Like, I don't have answers for any of that. I can't tell you. And I think that's showing on the court. And they need players, and they just don't have the talent they need right now to compete in the Big 12.
The number 1 team in the country, Tennessee, hadn't lost a game all season. They were 14-0. They go to Florida. They lose by 30 yesterday. I don't know. Like, is college basketball, like, we talk about how the rankings don't matter. Because they're hard to figure out. Who's the best team in the country right now? Because I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's an easy one. You got Auburn, who's really, really good. You got Tennessee, who's really, really good. But you lose by 30. Look, BYU got the doors blown off of them this past weekend by who'd they play this past weekend that they lost by? It was Houston down there at Houston.
On Saturday, yeah.
They got beat up so badly that you're like, oh, my goodness, there's no hope for this team. Look, the number 1 team in the country just lost by 30. This is what happens in college basketball. There's not a lot of parity this time of year. It's energy of these guys. It's going out when they have these back-to-back road games, or they got these college kids. It's hard to get consistency.
Well, look what Texas Tech
guys
just did, and that's a sign of a good team. Texas Tech won at Utah, and then they win at BYU.
Yeah,
they swept the Utah trip. That's a good basketball team. And now Texas Tech, when you go and sweep a road trip like that at elevation, you show the entire conference that you're for real. So it's about teams taking advantage of their opportunities. And you look around the country, and you saw Florida last night, who's also a top 10 team, go wax Tennessee. Well, Florida's only has 1 loss this year, and their loss was to Duke. Okay, so Tennessee, while they got boat raced by a team that's a Final Four contender.
Cooper Flagwatch, 2024.
Oh, did you see the dunk he had last night?
What did he end up with? Because I know he had kind of a rough first half.
10.
But then he went 19-10, so he had a really, really good second half, and Duke beat up on Pitt there at home.
That dunk showed why all these NBA teams are tanking right now. The athleticism, the length, his ability to do a number of different things, his versatility. He's the whole package. But he's young. He's, 17, 18 years old? Yeah. He's a true freshman in college. Well, just like I talked about Jaeger Demon. Like, Jaeger Demon is a lottery pick guy if he wants to go out. But right now, BYU fans are watching him like, he's not helping us right now. Like, he's really struggling. So,
do you think he stays and plays 1 year with AJ?
Oh, that's a good conversation. I think that BYU would be thrilled about that. Now it'd be tough for him to walk away from the riches of the NBA, but I think he's being taken care of in Provo,
if you're
too.
getting the riches in college now, you might as well stick
Maybe
around for
somebody
that too.
can incentivize Jaeger Demon to stay one more year and develop one more year.
AJ DeBanza? Throws him some money?
Maybe AJ. I know AJ's got cash. Maybe AJ can give him a loan.
Hey, Jaeger, we want you to stay one extra year. I want to be your sponsor. I want to be your 17-year-old. I want to be your true freshman sponsor. Stay for one more year. I don't know if these guys, sometimes it's like, yeah, but don't they want it to be their team and their team only?
No, they want to win. And you know what? If you're going to win NCAA championships, you got to have vets. You can't just have a team full of freshmen. How many of those one-and-done Kentucky teams, even Duke teams, won national championships?
Hey, Carmelo Anthony brought Syracuse a natty when he was a true freshman.
And he was surrounded by seniors.
Was it Kate McNamara who or no, who was it?
He beat BYU in the
78 3-pointers.
Araujo year.
That's right.
That was later than Carmelo, but
wow. It's just look. I think that BYU fans, because of the offseason, because of the year they had last year, there's a sentiment right now that's like, well, I guess Kevin Young's broken.
I mean, come on now. They're young.
I know,
I can make an argument their two best players are freshmen. You're
only
going to go so far. That's just the reality of college basketball, and this is the problem and the challenge I think that comes for a program like BYU right now, which is benefiting from NIL, the ability to bring these guys in. Well, if they're one and done, it's great for the university, it's great for the image because you're bringing in this high talent, but it doesn't mean championships.
Yeah.
You rarely see the best team on a national championship team is a freshman. Rarely. It doesn't happen often. UConn won back-to-back championships. How many was their best player a true freshman? No. So that's the dilemma in you want this talent to stay. Now with NIL, if you're willing to pay multiple years, you have a better chance. But I mean, somebody like AJ DeBanza, what are you waiting for? You're going to the league, and Jaeger may have the same feeling. Maybe Cannon Catchings too. Like those are guys that are first-round picks. So it's going to be tough to throw that money at these guys and expect championship returns because championship teams are built over time, not in 1 year. That's not how it works.
And yet the model is, man, if we could get a couple of those one-and-done guys, we'd be so good. Like that's what college teams are saying now. That's what college campuses.
Look, you want to get the best possible player.
And I know you want to get Cooper Flagg for more than a year, but that's not happening. I know you want to get AJ DeBanza for more than a year. Jaeger Demon, I don't know if he's going to be a guy who's going to go straight to the NBA, but certainly before the year started. And I don't know. Sometimes some of these guys get such high grades before they even come in. I mean, he was the number one player in Europe, right? That you could get a number one college age.
He was the number one international recruit, no doubt.
It's insane, and yet they're like, well, he's struggling right now, and you go, okay, I'm kind of okay with that. I mean, you should be okay with it because maybe means
he might not be struggling in February, and if he can click and he can play to his potential in February, and you rack up some quad one wins, and you sneak into the tournament, and all of a sudden you got a Jaeger Demon in the tournament that's playing at his highest level. All of a sudden things change. It's a long season. Everyone needs to be patient, but right now BYU is in a period of trying to figure some things out, and you just hope it doesn't take them too long to the point where of no return when it comes to the NCAA tournament.
We're going to come back. We've got our Win Ticket Wednesday right around the corner. Don't want to miss that. We got some tickets to give away. Plus, one of the weirder stories I've seen. I don't know. Is it just the hype that surrounds Colorado? What Coach Prime's bodyguard has said about protecting Coach Sanders this year. Are we going to have the Bodyguard, the movie, the sequel? But it's going to be starring Kevin Costner.
Go ahead and try to hit that Whitney Houston high note right now. Do it.
Kevin Costner reprises his role, but he's protecting Prime. That'd be good TV right there, or good movies. Let's go. At least have it go straight to Netflix. All right? We'll come back. We got more to go right around the corner. Stay with us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Your home for the best coverage of the Jazz, Utes, and Cougars is right here on The Zone. This is JJ and Alex, presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, that's my bass right there. My guy Eddie Vedder. What a good tune. Good pick, Alex. Gets me going. Hey, by the way, all the fires that are happening in Los Angeles,
Oof.
the Kings have had to postpone a home game. The NFL right now is trying to figure out, they're just trying to make sure that they are doing the right thing if they're going to keep their, because the Vikings and Rams are on what, Saturday? Sunday? Or no, Monday.
Yeah, it's Monday night game.
It's a Monday night game. And they're trying to figure this thing out. I mean, it's like, you're talking about all of the evacuations that have happened between Palisades and all the way to Pasadena. I mean, 70,000 people ordered to evacuate. 70,000. I know in a place like L.A., that sounds like a drop in the bucket, but think about 70,000 people evacuating from right here in Salt Lake City, what that would look like. Chaos.
It's
right?
horrific.
It's awful. And if you saw the scenes of, those bulldozers pushing cars off of the freeway that were stopped so that they could get the fire trucks through, that's some Armageddon stuff right there.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's bonkers. So you got Kawhi Leonard, who now is like, hey, I'm taking a leave while I evacuate my family. J.J. Redick's family, I think, had to get evacuated. And, I mean, it's just it's crazy. But, yeah, the NFL is going to have to figure out whether or not this Vikings-Rams game, think about the NFL, it's just like it's a train that doesn't stop.
Yeah.
But there are certain things that you go, we're going to have to recalibrate this thing, see if it's worth playing. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. And our certainly, if you know any family members that are down there right now, it's a scary thing people are going through down there in Los Angeles. So, JJ, we got some stuff to give away before we get to our Coach Prime story that I wanted to reveal for you. Caller number 12 to 801-575-ZONE gets a family 4-pack of tickets. Is it a family show, though? Not sure. Sebastian Maniscalco at the Maverick Center on January 17th. That's next week. The It Ain't Right Tour, all on sale right now at livenation.com. You can win 4 tickets right now at 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE to see the comedian Sebastian Maniscalco. Maniscalco. Oh, you're a big Maniscalco fan?
He's a big name in comedy.
Okay.
Apparently not in the Kirry household.
We only go for the hardcore cussing stuff at my house.
You're a Shane Gillis guy?
I'm a big, hey, kids, gather around the fire. We're going to watch some Chappelle.
Hey, yeah, Chappelle. Yeah, watch Chappelle with the kids.
Oh, my goodness. Hey, guys, you know who Andrew Dice Clay is?
Man,
remember that's a throwback because you remember, like, there was one thing that, like, when Andrew Dice Clay would come on the TV.
Hickory dickory dock. I won't finish it.
Oh, my goodness.
But you remember when we were kids, like, there was the explicit lyric albums.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was the comedy. If you're listening to Andrew Dice Clay, you were an edgy kid, man.
Oh, well, we had the tapes.
You didn't want your parents to find out.
Remember the Adam Sandler tapes? Like, we had those things memorized.
The CDs?
The CDs, the tapes, we had them memorized.
We could do skits right now if you want me to.
Can't. Not appropriate.
Toll Booth Willie.
He button-hooked me. I didn't know you were going to button-hook me. Just like the idea.
I'm going out of the booth.
The idea that there's a goat.
They're all going to laugh at you. No.
There's a goat out there.
I'm just an effing goat. Everybody our age listening right now knows those comedy acts. They know the comedy CDs.
Jerky Boys and...
Oh, my gosh. Frank Rizzo.
Oh, my goodness. All right.
I bring all my shoes and my glasses with me, so I have them.
Think about it. Like, that was the thing, is that's how you got through junior high.
30 years later, I still have it memorized.
You were just repeating those things to each other in class, and it never got old. All right. Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, apparently received multiple threats during Colorado's football season this year, according to his bodyguard.
Crazy.
This, to me, is the bodyguard trying to stay employed, right? Keep yourself employed. Yeah, man. I mean, multiple threats. He may have been killed this year if it wasn't for me. His bodyguard, Coach Prime's bodyguard, Michael Rhodes, says that they had to handle his mail with nitrile gloves and with machines that detected hazardous materials before the Colorado State game in September. Now, that makes sense. Rhodes said that multiple law enforcement agencies had to get involved to monitor his safety because they received multiple threats of people trying to do harm to the coach. Seems like a bit much, doesn't it?
That's crazy. I mean, that's terrible.
I don't know if there's.
But I'm shocked by
But
this.
I don't know if there's a more polarizing coach in collegiate athletics.
But the threats.
But the threats, I've never heard.
Why?
I've never heard of coaches getting threats. Plus, it's still Colorado. Like in the end, I guess Colorado State could be like, "Don't plan on showing up to the stadium on Saturday."
It's not like he coaches Alabama and Auburn fans are threatening him.
No, I know.
This is nuts.
Even Auburn fans are like, "We just kill their trees, man. We don't."
Yeah, we're not trying to kill any people.
Or Alabama fans, man, we're just going to kill their trees. It's crazy.
It just means more.
Well, apparently it does. And Coach Prime's bodyguard is going to be employed at least a little bit longer.
I'm glad Coach Prime is fine. Yeah.
If you're Coach Prime, though, and you're like, hey, maybe you don't mention all that. If you're the bodyguard, don't do that interview with USA Today. Oh, no, yeah, he gets threatened all the time. People want to kill Coach for sure. Oh, yeah.
That's wild.
Tough. He's like, no, don't do that. Do we give those Maniscalco tickets away?
I told you. Hot. People want him.
All right. Okay.
He's a hot comedy act.
I'm going to have to find him on Instagram.
He's been doing it a long time.
All right. Taking a break. We'll come back next hour. We got tons to jump into here. The college football playoff is upon us. Tomorrow and Friday, you've got games, and we've got our first version of a Final Four in the 12-team format, now whittled down to 4. Who's going to have the advantage here? Is everybody just waiting for Ohio State as the most underrated 8 seed of all time to come in and win that national championship? Or will James Franklin or Texas or Notre Dame be able to figure this thing out over the Ohio State Buckeyes? We'll come back. We got more to go. Stay with us. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing.
When TV and radio collide.
Love it.
Wow. This is what you get. You're listening to JJ and Alex. Presented by G2G Bars.
Don't touch that dial.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, everybody, welcome back. JJ and Alex, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. I know who the Maniscalco guy is now.
Yeah.
Like
he's the Italian comic.
Yeah, he's on all my Instagram feeds. I just never knew his name. And we just gave away 4 of the tickets. There you go. Win Ticket Wednesday delivers again. So there you go. I was looking, I was going, I don't know this guy's name. I looked up, I go, oh, and then you started playing some stuff during the break, and I was like, no, this guy I know. Yeah, I think he's pretty good. Let me see here. We got so many good games coming up. I hope. I pray we're having good games.
Are we sure?
5?
Sure about that?
You sure about that? You sure about that? I don't know. Notre Dame, Penn State, or Texas and Ohio State. Which one's going to deliver a better game?
Notre Dame, Penn State, but it might be boring.
10-6.
I mean, did you love Notre Dame, Georgia?
Ryan Leonard drops back. It's a quarterback draw.
Oh,
I didn't see that coming at all.
Well, hey, that young man's got wheels.
Look, I know we had to do the apology.
Should have looked at the scouting
I know
report.
we had to do the apology tour already for Will Howard, but I feel like even Will Howard knew that he was probably not. I don't think he even thought he was going to be this successful this year, right?
Well, you got one of the best receivers in the country throwing the ball to. That helps. Like if you're a quarterback and you have some warts, Ohio State can help hide those really well because you're surrounded with just dynamic athletes. Every year, Ohio State's got a big-time receiver to throw the ball to. And they might have the best of them all right now with Jeremiah Smith. That guy is unbelievable, and he's just a freshman. So, yeah, I think Will Howard's better than we thought he was going to be.
Will Howard, he's done this year, right?
Yeah.
Like he's a super senior or whatever? Okay. Just wondering.
But who knows anymore, right?
Nah, I was like, did he play in junior college?
Maybe he signs a new 5-year contract. I have no idea.
Did he play in junior college 7 years ago, so now he gets 2 extra years or whatever it is? I don't know.
He can just give the NCAA the middle finger and say he's playing at Ohio State forever.
I'm going, look, who's the guy who played 9 years for Miami? I want to do that.
Just do it.
Come on.
There's no rules, apparently.
And the NCAA's all, no, you can't. And, I'm going to court. They're like, wait. We'll figure this out. You get 2 more years. Just by mentioning you're going to take them to court. Our show, as always, is brought to you by G2G Bars. All natural ingredients and no preservatives make the G2G Bar the perfect protein bar. We want to give it a shot today. It is at your local Costco, at Holiday Oil, at Maverick, Associated Foods, and now popping up at Smith's as well, all in the refrigerated section because there are no preservatives, and they're all natural. So give it a shot for yourself. Let's kick off the hour as we always do with the cut. We'll jump in right here. Let's do it.
It's time for the biggest story of the day. This is what made the cut with JJ and Alex on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And this portion of the show, The Cut, brought to you by good folks at Trajan Wealth, TRAJAN Wealth.com. That's TrajanWealth.com for your local trusted financial fiduciaries. James Franklin decided he was going to go after his opponent. Well, maybe he was. Maybe he was just saying in general, just some out loud words. I think everybody should be in a conference. We need uniformity. The college football playoff needs uniformity. Everybody should be in a conference. Of course, he's talking about Notre Dame, I guess, you could say Notre Dame's not in a conference, but at the same time, they're still playing a schedule that's very similar to yours, James Franklin, right?
They're essentially playing an ACC schedule.
Yeah, plus throwing a bad Stanford team, a bad USC team. Who else is throwing
a Northern Illinois team? Wait.
Oh, wait. Did they play Army and Navy now every year, or is it just Army this year? I don't know. I don't know what their schedule. They always have.
Their schedule wasn't hard.
They always have a military academy on the docket. It seems like.
Yes.
So, in the end, though, James Franklin saying we need some uniformity in college football in the college football playoff. That seems really hilarious to me, because this is a team that, because Ohio State lost to Michigan, they had to play in the Big Ten championship game. I guarantee they're crapping their pants, going, "Oh my, we got to play in the Big Ten championship." Hey, coach, get the film going on this. Who are we playing? Who are we playing in this Big Ten championship? Oregon? What? Okay. And they start scrambling because they were going to have the easiest go, and they put up a fight against an Oregon team that obviously lost the first round of the college football playoff that they played in. But when you say they need consistency and uniformity, you got to be kidding me. The way that you got into this thing was you're in a conference that just plays by its own rules. So, college football playoff uniformity? What are we talking about here, James Franklin? If you're in the SEC and the Big Ten, you want everything to work in your favor. You want everybody else to be uniform. You're like, but we're in the Big Ten. We're an automatic here. I don't think anybody looked at Penn State going into this game, and Notre Dame, frankly, either, and said they're going to be playing in the semifinal game. Did you have it on your docket? No way.
No.
Either team. Penn State, to me, felt like the fourth best team of the Big Ten all season long. And suddenly now they're one of the four best teams in the entire country because of where they're at. So I don't know. But they also feels like everybody is a mile and a half behind Ohio State, and Ohio State is the number 8 seeded team in the college football playoff. They're the highest ranked, and they have the best odds to win the national championship. Explain that to me.
I can't. None of it makes sense.
Uniformity, man.
Well, I will give him some credit here. He's kind of right. There does need to be some uniformity, but not in the way he's talking about. There needs to be uniformity in the form of a new league or mega conference or something where they just take all of these teams out and just put them in a big league, give them a salary cap, give them the same, kind of like the NFL.
Yeah.
And create parity and make even the playing field. Like everybody plays the same amount of conference games or whatever. Get rid of the conferences. I mean, that's never going to happen because the SEC is a powerful brand. The Big Ten's a powerful brand. They're not going to get rid of the conferences. But isn't it also ridiculous that we have an 18-team Big Ten? What's the point? How do you have a conference champion of a conference that has 18 teams when you're not even playing half the teams? How can you say you're the conference champion? Oregon won the conference championship, but how many of the teams in the conference did they play? Right? So they played a lot of the good ones, but I'm not taking anything away from them. My point is, how can you say you're a conference champion when you only play half of the teams? It doesn't make any sense to me. These conferences are too big.
But, the same,
so
in
where
the
we're
same
going
breath,
is, again, it's a super conference conversation we need to have.
In the same breath, Indiana's like, yeah, you're in the Big Ten, but your schedule sucked in the Big Ten this year. No, it was just the one that was in front of them. But every year.
And if their schedule this year was in 2023, it would have been one of the hardest schedules.
See, that's the thing is that I think that you're going to have a team like this every year that benefits from being in such a big conference that they end up going, oh, they're not playing Oregon. Oh, they're not playing this team. They're not playing that team. They only have to play one or two really, really good teams on their schedule.
What happens when Vanderbilt makes the playoff next year?
Oh, settle down. Vanderbilt will never make the college
They're in
football
the
playoff.
SEC. What's the difference between Vanderbilt and Indiana? Go.
Oh.
What would stop Vanderbilt from having a similar run as Indiana? They
Hold on
got a good coach there now. They've got a quarterback. He's coming back next year. Why not? They have the opportunity to do what Indiana did. If the schedule's favorable to them, I don't know what their schedule is next year, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Like, just because you're in the club means you have a chance. And that's all that matters.
Yeah, I don't hate the no, I hate it. I hate the idea of Vanderbilt getting in the college football
sucks. Just because you're in the club means you get a chance? That's dumb.
It's not even about it's not being in the club. It's like, I mean, Vanderbilt.
It skews how we judge these teams.
Yeah, for sure. But
Vanderbilt's not good, but because they're playing in the SEC and it means more, the committee is going to value their wins and games more.
Why isn't Texas favored in that game against Ohio State?
Because Ohio State has just absolutely wrecked Oregon. Like, if you watch the Oregon game and
Was Oregon just not nearly as good?
Them wreck Tennessee, Ohio State looks far and away like the best football team in the country right now. Yeah, 5.5-point favorite against Texas. I think they cover easily.
Really?
I think they're going to dominate Texas.
That's no fun.
Did Texas look good against Arizona State?
No.
Statistically, Arizona State won that game outside of the scoreboard.
Every one of these
most valuable player of that game was Cam Scadaboo.
I think
lost.
I think all the players or all the teams that are still left in this thing, it just is what week do they get exposed? You know, is it Penn State's turn to get exposed this next week? I mean, tomorrow. Is it Texas's turn to get exposed against Ohio State? Right? Ohio State, we felt like got exposed against Michigan, right? But that ended up being the catalyst for them to turn everything around. I was reading an article today, and it was like, and it was, I don't know who wrote it, but the whole gist of it was, hey, Ryan Day, awesome year, successful year, great. Whatever happens with you at Ohio State, go somewhere else. Because it's not worth being told that you should lose, that your job should be in question when you lose to Michigan. You don't deserve it. You're a phenomenal coach. You should go do it somewhere else where people will actually respect you.
They may not be wrong.
And that's what I said. I was like, oh my goodness, this might have a point.
He lost 6 games ever, and like 5 of them are to Michigan?
Yes, 4 of them are to Michigan.
4, okay.
And he's lost 2. You're right. I mean, it's like he is like 48-6 against the Big Ten, and it's like a loss to Oregon, a weird loss to Iowa or something like that, and then 4 losses to Michigan. And they go, yeah, we should fire him. Fire his butt. Get him out of here. Maybe he does. He doesn't need that noise. Always being in the because how long at a place like Ohio State? What does a national championship buy you? How much time does it buy you?
It should buy you a lot.
It should buy you a lot of time, but this is Ohio State, man. And it's like, think about in the NBA. When you win Coach of the Year, you may as well just get fired a year and a half later. That's what happens with coaches in the NBA, right? Seems like they win Coach of the Year.
Look at Doug Peterson in the NFL. Won a Super Bowl with the Eagles.
He gets fired.
He's been
2
fired
years later.
twice since.
Right. And probably deservedly so the last 2.
Maybe, but still, like, it didn't buy him much equity, did it?
No, I know. And that's what's happening at these collegiate levels, I think, now, too. And I think that Ryan Day is a little bit disagreeable. Like, LSU's putting up with Brian Kelly, I think, for the time being. I think they realize who they have now, unfortunately, and they have a really hard time. They do not want to buy out that guy, another coach. At the very least, do the Ed Orgeron thing, have him win a national championship, and then fire him a couple years later. But Brian Kelly's not going to win a national championship at LSU.
No.
And so these coaches, like, is the place that Steve Sarkisian wants to end up? Is Texas a end-all, be-all job in college football? It should be. The 40 acres down there is one of the most historic places you could ever hang your shingle, right?
Yeah.
And yet, at the same time, I think people look at guys like Steve Sarkisian and they go, "Oh, he wants to get back to Alabama, where he learned under Coach Saban." Back to Alabama? What?
Why? No, it doesn't.
It's like,
why would you want those expectations?
Well, Lane Kiffin. Well, he obviously wants to go to Alabama, right? It's like, what?
He's a king.
Of course he is.
In Oxford now.
But everybody goes, yeah, but it's Ole Miss. Yeah, but Texas is not Alabama. We can have Ryan Day. Ohio State, yeah, but I don't know if you're good enough. You win a national championship, give us 4 and be a dirtbag. Thanks, Urban Meyer. Right? That's the guy who is like you think about the Jim Tressel years, right? And even he won a natty, right?
Yeah.
But people look back and they go, oh, yeah, those are kind of dark times.
Tattoos.
those are dark times.
Google it for you, for those
Google,
who don't know.
Google it, the Jim Tressel.
It's laughable now.
It's
like the Reggie Bush stuff.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. So, yeah. To me, when I see these college football playoff games and I see the things that are in front of us here, I'm trying to figure out if this was a good first successful year in the college football playoff.
Yes.
Are you saying that just because
definitively, yes.
5, 6, 7, and 8 are
What's the difference between this and the 4 teams we were getting? Why has this been bad? Why has this been bad?
The first you have to admit the first 5 games of this.
The NFL playoffs. I had this conversation with you last week. Last year's NFL playoffs were great. Guess what? One of the wild card games out of all of them was even competitive. One. And it was still great because it's the NFL.
But the NFL has a seeding problem, and so does college football. The college football playoff right now.
Well, the NFL fixed it because they do have the division thing, but at least they reseed after the wild card round.
Well, you play, that's exactly right.
Look, they're going to figure some stuff out here. College football playoff will figure some stuff out. I don't like the buys. Clearly, the buys don't benefit anybody. Get rid of the buys. Move it to 16. And we want 8 home playoff games in the first round because that was awesome. I don't want to see college football playoff games on neutral fields. I want to see them in the home stadiums. Reward those top 8 teams. Give them home playoff games. That was fun. That was awesome. And it was obviously a clear advantage. The 4 teams that had home opening round games are now in the semifinals. I don't think that's a coincidence.
16 teams, and even 14 teams. 14 teams.
Sure, and give 2 buys.
14 teams would have probably seen BYU either barely eke in or barely be left out. 16 teams, BYU would have been in that college football playoff.
The good thing about BYU is I think that the committee is going to have to reevaluate the way they did things here, and they're going to look at the fact that, you know what, maybe they missed on BYU. Again, BYU had their chances. They lost those 2 games, but when you go back and look at it, were they better than SMU? They proved it on the field. So why was SMU with 2 losses ahead of BYU with 2 losses when BYU beat them head-to-head on SMU's field? True road game. The evaluation was they didn't need any more than that. They had the eye test and the analytics and everything else that pointed that BYU was better than SMU. But SMU got in because they lost later, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
If BYU would have waited to lose until the Big 12 championship game, they would have been in the playoff.
I look at a game. I look at the way that the college football playoff committee is trying to figure this thing out, and everybody is backing the 14 and 16 team expansion already. Because if you're ESPN, that's what you do. You're going to say, "Oh yeah, oh man, we should go to 16,
more games, more money."
Well, it's not just more games. It's the most high-profile games you can get. It's the ones that they can sell for the most money.
Correct.
Right? And so,
these games, while they have not been super competitive, are still drawing big numbers.
So, has it been a success so far? Then,
yes, 100%.
All right.
It's not. I mean, who was not entertained by that Arizona State Texas game?
I agree.
So, at least there was one super memorable classic game we got out of this. But this is what you wanted. You want more teams to get a crack at it. You want more seats at the table. You want a Boise State to get a shot. You want Arizona State to be able to have the kind of season they had this year where they go from pick to be 16th to Big 12 champs.
Mm-hmm.
You want to have Cam Scattaboo moments. You want those things, and you can't have them if you just keep it to the elites, if you just keep it to the 4. Give these teams a chance, and eventually parity is going to win out because you're starting to see it already. All this talent that was compressed in these top 2 or 3 SEC teams is now spreading out, and the SEC does not have all these talent and guys locked in their 2, 3, and 4 depth charts, and they're playing in other places. And you're already seeing it. The SEC, Texas is representing the SEC now, and we all know Texas is really a Big 12 team, right? They were just barely joined the SEC. The powers that be in the SEC are all out before the semifinals for the first time in a long time. When is the last time since they started the college football playoff that there was no SEC team? I don't think it's ever been. This is the first year outside of Texas, obviously. So they're still going to count it, but you get my point. Like, times are a-changing in college football. The SEC no longer has a monopoly, and that's a good thing.
Let's expand it to where you get the Mountain West champion, the Sun Belt champion, the American Athletic Conference champion. What's another one?
Don't get drunk here.
The MAC. Give me the MAC.
MAC shit in the playoffs?
Yeah, oh yeah, why not?
Sign me up.
Hey, who won the MAC this year?
It wasn't Northern Illinois, was it?
No, I think it may have been, actually.
The newest member of the Mountain West? No, it wasn't.
No.
I have no idea who won the MAC.
What about Conference USA? Are they a thing still?
They still are, yes, barely.
Who's in it?
I'm assuming Tech.
I'm assuming UTEP is probably in it. Oh yeah. Oh, but UTEP's going to be in the Mountain West, right?
Yeah, UTEP was in the Conference USA.
Okay.
Ohio.
Okay.
Jacksonville State won the Conference USA this year. The Gamecocks.
Javille State? Jacksonville State.
Jayville.
Oh, and they played Western Kentucky. Oh, of course. Just like I had it before the season started.
Remember that Sam Houston team that came into Provo 2 years ago?
Oh, remember when Middle Tennessee?
They finished third.
Remember when Middle Tennessee? Sam Houston? Is FIU in Conference USA?
I think BYU played half these teams in Independence.
No,
Liberty,
just 2020.
La Tech,
just in 2020.
New Mexico State.
They played them all just in 2020. Oh, my goodness. Zach Wilson's like, yep, name them. I beat them.
I played at all those games.
Every Conference USA team. Oh, crazy. All right. Make all the conference champions part of the college football playoff. Why not? Why not? If they're just going to be blowouts in the first round anyway, then might as well do it. Give the Ohio Buckeyes, the Ohio Bobcats.
Oh, you're gonna get mail now.
The Ohio Bobcats.
You're gonna get mail now.
Mail.
I can't help you.
Send me mail, and Prime's bodyguard will have to sift through it with his rubber gloves on.
Is it nitrile gloves?
Nitrile gloves. All right, let's take a break. We'll come back. When we do, we've got right around the corner our NFL Blitz for the day. Anybody get fired today? New names getting fired? Maybe not, but I'll tell you what we have. I've got some NFL news for you. Bill Belichick, will he possibly not even coach a game in North Carolina?
What?
I'll bring you that news next. Stay with us. 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
All the latest news and notes from the league and the locals in the NFL. JJ and Alex bring you the NFL Blitz on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Welcome back, JJ and Alex, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone. That music, of course, means it's our NFL Blitz. It's that time of the day. Oh, JJ. Bill Belichick apparently has had multiple teams reaching out to see if the ink is dry on that North Carolina contract.
Oh, now they're interested. Serious?
Bill Belichick says that he's got no plans to return to the NFL, despite the fact that his guy, Tom Brady, reached out about the possibility of taking that Raiders job. I'll remind you, Tom Brady is now a minority owner of the Raiders. Weird, right?
It is.
I don't know. You know how these things can start to get some steam, though? And I know that Bill Belichick wanted to put his girlfriend through her master's program at North Carolina.
Dude,
maybe
Belichick's not wearing shirts anymore. He's back to school. Rodney Dangerfield style.
Billy Madison style.
That Veronica Vaughn.
Oh, my goodness. Remember Miss Smiley? What was her deal?
I don't know. She was weird.
They go out to recess and she just starts putting makeup on her face, like all the hardcore. Here's the deal. Bill Belichick, I could see this thing spinning out of control and him never coaching one game at North Carolina. You don't see it happening?
No, he's totally locked into that.
Stop
He's totally
acting
excited
like
about it.
Okay.
He's jacked. You know why? No, it's not because he loves college football. He wants to stick it to the NFL. He wants to. He is so vindictive and angry.
Oh yeah.
He does the same thing to the Jets, right? Remember?
Could have called me a month ago.
Yeah. I'm moving on to the college game. Moving on to college.
He would, but see, here's the
partying
thing.
with frat boys. Moving on to college.
If he goes to the college football playoff in year one, forget about it. He's going to the NFL. Go 1 year in college, and then middle fingers to everybody.
You know what? He's actually a good fit in today's college football because it's more like the NFL than it's ever been.
Yeah, but it's also...
He can essentially go out and sign free agents is what it is now.
Couldn't you just... I could just see him...
How is Coach Prime... Coach Prime's not even out recruiting. How is this going to work? Well, guess what? They come to him, and he just gets in the portal, and everybody wants... Coach Prime's cool, and they got Travis Hunter, and they got Shedeur Sanders. These kids just want to come be around Coach Prime.
Oh.
He doesn't have to leave his dang office. Like, it's not like it used to be where these guys, these big-time head coaches, have to get on a plane and fly coach for 15,000 miles a month to go get the players they want. Those days are over. Yeah, sure. Head coach at Utah State's got to go do that, maybe. But not Bill Belichick, not Coach Prime.
What did Mick Cronin say about these college players now? Bunch of delulus, right? Bill Belichick will be like, a bunch of delusional players.
These players are
delusional.
I
mean, that's the ultimate.
These players don't understand.
That's what I'm wondering is if he's going to get there and then realize, oh, dang, I don't have the most talented squad here.
No, not.
He had the best quarterback in NFL history on his team every year that he won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and he still never proved that he could win without him.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. What's hilarious is, did he coach that? I'm trying to think. Who did he pick? Oh no, who did he pick when he was? Who was his last quarterback that he got at
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones.
Who did not go well.
I know, but they were this close to getting. But is Drake May? He was a North Carolina guy.
Yeah, he was.
So is Sam Howell. Talk about a list of guys who.
But he obviously he was picked after Belichick.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, which one of these guys is North Carolina quality that Bill Belichick is going to be getting? Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin says, "I'm certainly open to utilizing Justin Fields in that wild card game."
Well, try something different because your team sucks right now. They're not good. I watched that game they played against the Bengals. Ugh.
I watched the Chiefs game the week before. And
yeah.
It's like the one game that the Chiefs were like, oh, good. We got to beat somebody by double digits.
Right.
We didn't have to go to a field goal at the
Russell
very end.
Wilson looks like Denver Broncos Russell Wilson right now. Yeah. Not good.
Hey, speaking of delusional, Micah Parsons, Cowboys edge rusher, says, quote, "We will be holding the trophy next year, point blank, period." Got bad news for him.
No.
It's going to be one of those joke office trophies at the Christmas holiday party that you're going to be having early because you are not even going to the playoffs again.
He's going to get a Dundee.
He's going to get one of those like somebody gets that white elephant gift and they go to DI and get a trophy. That's going to be the trophy you hold up. This is the same kind of thing. When they asked, because now it aged
How
like...
do the Cowboys get better next year?
It aged like milk when Dak Prescott was asked before this last season by that reporter. She goes, "The Cowboys at the end of the season will blank be holding the Lombardi trophy." And everyone's like... It's like, imagine Dak Prescott, $60 million a year, sitting up in the booth with his Microsoft Surface surfing Instagram. All right? That's what he did the last 4 games. I love how they try to act like, oh, he's got an earpiece and he's telling Cooper Rush, hey, throw this interception right here. Throw an interception right here, Cooper. Come on, man. So ridiculous. Speaking of quarterbacks who may get overpaid, Brock Purdy's extension. What on earth are they going to do with a guy who's been making $930,000 the last 3 seasons? He's set to make $1.15 next year. Obviously, they're going to have to get a deal done. Kyle Shanahan says, I can't imagine a world where Brock Purdy is not here in San Francisco. I want him to be here the entire time that I'm here. These are all things you say before everything breaks down. But are they really going to be able to pay Brock Purdy $50 million or $55 million to be the head or to be the starting quarterback at the 49ers?
One of the reasons why the 49ers have been so good over the last few years with Brock Purdy at quarterback is because he's only making $934,000,
I know,
which has allowed them to add a Christian McCaffrey and to pay Deebo Samuel and to pay Fred Warner and to pay all these guys that they have on the roster, and recently to pay Brandon Ayuk right before he got seriously injured.
He's overperforming obviously for the $930,000.
There's no doubt about that, but he would be terribly underperforming for $55 million.
Is it underperforming when guys like Daniel Jones were making 40 and they were doing what they're doing.
Well, where's Daniel Jones now?
Hey, could be on the championship-winning Vikings team coming up here in the next few weeks.
Watching in shorts and a T-shirt. Not even active.
No, didn't they suit him up?
He was wearing a ball cap with a T-shirt.
Oh,
he
my
ain't doing
goodness.
anything.
Well, so how much you pay Brock Purdy? If you're the 49ers, how much you pay him?
You got to give him Jordan Love money.
Which is what, 50-55?
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's the dilemma here. You love Brock Purdy, but do you love him that much?
Yeah. Well, in a world where being the highest paid guy doesn't mean you're the best, even close to being the highest paid quarterback in the league is Dak Prescott. $61.5 million a year.
Right. Remember when Patrick Mahomes was the highest paid? He's not anymore.
No,
not even close.
Well, what's crazy? Remember when he signed that deal and he
It's a
technically
10-year
was
deal.
getting $40.5 million a year, and now that's like dirt freaking cheap, man.
He's a bargain.
That's Daniel Jones money, and they restructured it to give him a few extra dollars. Didn't matter because he's still not the highest paid quarterback. I don't know if that matters to you. Fine.
Maybe they
Brock
try to sign
Purdy's-
him at a lower cap friendly number with tons of incentives, like our friend Geno Smith.
Do you think Brock Purdy cares about getting $55 million a year, though?
Yes.
I think he wants to get paid.
Why? We all do. Like, come on now, Alex. If there's another radio host in the
But
market,
$55 million is stupid.
how would you feel if you're making a third that he is, but you have better ratings? Brock Purdy's won more games than all these guys. He's won more. He's gone farther than Dak Prescott. He's been to a Super Bowl, and you're gonna sit there and be like, "Yeah, I'm gonna sign for a third of these other guys because I was Mr. Irrelevant." Screw you. I'm the man. Pay me. I'll go prove it to you. Like, these guys have giant egos. They all believe they're the best, which is why Brock Purdy's been able to survive in the first place, because he believed in himself that much. But it's a dilemma for the 49ers because they don't have a lot of money to give.
I know. I mean, they're not in worse shape. They're not in terrible cap hell.
Well, they don't
like
have the dead
Saints
money
are.
like the Broncos.
Right. The Broncos and the Saints are like, because I think the Saints are going to be like 60-something million over
They have the
cap.
same problem.
Oh, my heavens.
And Derek Carr doesn't want to take a pay cut.
No. And he won't. No, he won't.
They're going to have to rebuild in New Orleans. It's going to be an ugly rebuild.
Travis Kelce back in the news. By the way, Travis Kelce, I know he had like the worst year ever compared to other years that he's had, but Travis Kelce, do you know what his numbers still were this year? 97 catches for 823 yards.
I never would have guessed that.
No, he had almost 100 catches.
That's the one of the quietest.
It's 12th in the entire league, not among tight ends.
He had a quiet year.
Part of it is because he caught he had 97 catches for 823 yards, but he only had 3 touchdowns. So that's very much off of like his normal.
Well, Mahomes didn't have the year he normally had. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl. But
How did Travis
who would
Kelce
you
not make the
expect
Pro Bowl with almost 100 catches as a tight end, though?
I don't.
That's pretty crazy.
I don't know. You wait and see, though. When it really matters, Mahomes and Kelce are going to get it done because they've been there before. They know how to do it.
I think it's crazy. Anyway, Travis Kelce finds himself in the news because, Travis Kelce has scoffed at the idea that the Chiefs lost to end the Bengals' hopes. Come on. Are you kidding? By the way, Travis Kelce, I don't even know what was going. Did he suit up on Sunday? Did he play?
No.
Right. He could have had 100 catches on the season. He probably could have gotten a cool extra $100,000 if he had 100 freaking catches.
You know what's crazy? He was 39th in the NFL in receiving yards this year.
He was 12th in catches overall.
Alec Pierce had more receiving yards than Travis Kelce.
Alec
Jaden
Pierce.
Reed of the Packers had more yards, but you're right about the receptions.
Almost 100, man.
97.
It's crazy. But yeah, could you imagine that, like, Travis Kelce, of all the teams, by the way, Travis Kelce doesn't want the Bengals to have their hopes renewed, or anybody's, frankly. But if you're the Chiefs, you want like to never see the Broncos in the playoffs, to never see the Chargers in the playoffs, to never see the Raiders. There's enough hate among those teams. Do you think he hates Joe Burrow that much to be like, I want to make sure that he stays out of here?
Do people really think that the Chiefs came together and conspired to lose to the Broncos just so the Bengals missed the playoffs? Like, do they realize and understand that there was another variable at play with the Dolphins beating the Jets?
Oh, of course.
That would have knocked the Bengals out? Like, that's just, come on, people. What are we doing?
People are funny.
Like, someone actually had to ask that question?
And then Travis Kelce on his...
I guess he did it on his podcast.
Yeah, he said on his podcast, he's like, I wanted them to make the effing playoffs. I wanted to beat them, too.
I want to slay every dragon one by one. Oh, my gosh. Like Mortal Kombat.
Are they still doing the chunky soup commercials? They move on from that. Too good for that now?
I feel like every time I turn the TV on, there's a Kelce
Did you see that one of the... I think that... is Jason Kelce doing that late night show that ESPN's trying out?
Yes.
Did they already have one of the episodes?
Yes.
Oh. You're making that noise like it wasn't very good.
It's strange.
Okay.
He's got like a Bob Barker microphone. He's wearing some kind of weird outfit. And I really didn't understand.
That skinny mic?
I can't tell you that I sat and watched a whole episode, but what I watched, I was like, wow.
Okay,
And ESPN's paying him for this?
Yeah, they are. Big money. Big money, too. Big money.
I never thought, who would have thought 10 years ago that the biggest names in entertainment would be the Kelces?
I know. Their mom. I saw it the whole time. Yeah, the Kelces. And that was the best. The best reaction this year was when Bill Belichick, when he was doing the Manning cast, saw Taylor Swift up on the screen and he goes, ugh. And both the Mannings start laughing. They're like, oh, my goodness. They showed Taylor Swift and
I'm sure that Bill Belichick had to take his girlfriend to a concert.
I was going to say, I bet Belichick was more like,
most teenagers love going to a Taylor Swift concert.
I'm out of her league, not the other way around.
Moving on.
I prefer them 15 years younger than Taylor Swift.
Moving on to the next girlfriend.
Literally, though. His girlfriend is like 15 years younger than Taylor Swift. Because what's T Swift now? 38, 39?
Yeah,
how old
she's
is she?
old, like 34,
she's old.
35.
Oh, I thought she was approaching 40. Sorry. My bad.
She's 35.
Ooh, sorry
She'll
about
turn 36 in December.
Sorry about the 40-year-old comment, T Swift.
That was not nice.
Sorry.
Yeah, you're right. Bill Belichick's girlfriend is what, barely 20?
Yeah, 21 and a half.
Barely legal.
I love how people are like, hey, she's gonna get her master's degree courtesy of Daddy Bill.
Are you sure about that?
No, she's got to get her undergrad first. Let's go. Come on. All right, we'll take the break. We will come back and we will wrap up this hour with our best and worst. So stay here, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up the hour with our picks for the best and worst moments on today's show. As JJ and Alex want to hear your best and worst of the day.
I forgot that the Oklahoma City Thunder have that Loves patch on the old jersey.
It'd be like the Jazz wearing Maverick patches.
Or Sinclair. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something local.
Yeah.
I do love a Loves, though.
You're familiar with that area, so you know what Loves is.
They have a couple here in central Utah.
I'm surprised it's not Buc-ee's.
No, Buc-ee's Buc-ee's came out well after my time. But the Loves, we've got a couple here in Utah that are
We have
phenomenal.
Loves here?
Oh, yeah.
How come I don't know that?
You got to drive down to St. George. I wait to stop at the Loves, man.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Look, if I want to stop and hit a shower in a gas station, it's going to be there.
Dude, I don't even want to know the story. I don't even want to know.
No, but they do have some good foods. They have some good
So
foods.
yeah, what's the thing? What sets Loves apart? I mean, I could tell somebody from New York or California why Mavericks this and that.
Hard boiled eggs probably. No,
that's the best you can do.
No. They got
hard boiled eggs.
No, they got tons of candy. Like I'm saying, they have all the regular candy, but then they have like their own candy too. It's funny though because it's like $1 extra a gallon for gas though. You stop there.
So what's the benefit here?
Well, the Loves in Central Utah is connected to a Taco John's, so you guys can all stuff it. All right, Taco John's. You want to buy a taco from a guy named John, don't you? I'm not
Sounds
selling
like
it
you
well.
stuff it when you go to Taco John's.
This is not a chili cheese burrito or whatever it is situation that guy had with the Taco Bell this year, right?
Oh my gosh.
No. All right. Hey, Oklahoma City Thunder. Speaking of, with the Loves on the jersey, that's how we got down that weird rabbit hole. Up right now with 6:50 left in the second quarter, 46-43 there in Cleveland, by the way. So 15-game win streak for who? The Cavs, right?
No, the Thunder have
Thunder
a
on
15. The
15.
Cavs have a 10.
10 game.
The Cavs have only lost 4 times this year. The Thunder 5.
So the 31-4 Cavs and the 30-5.
They're both on pace for 70-win seasons.
Oof.
And no one's talking about it.
Well, it's Cleveland and Oklahoma City. That's what's
It shouldn't
interesting.
matter.
I know it shouldn't, but that's
the
the way it
NBA's
is.
got a problem. They should be hyping this up.
Yeah.
It's a good game.
Best and worst brought to you by your family of Doug Smith dealerships: Dodge, Ram, Chevy, Jeep, Subaru, Kia, and now Mitsubishi and American Fork. So there you go. So the best of the day. The NHL is going to have 2 outdoor games, one in Miami and one in Tampa in 2026. That's right. Even during a warmish Florida winter, you're going to get 2 outdoor hockey games. And you know what's funny? They're going to pack those things out, guaranteed.
Oh, they should.
So it's awesome. And they did. The Kings, and the worst is the Kings in that Calgary Flames game. By the way, not good to have the Flames being the team that end up being that's an unfortunate coincidence on that one, right?
Yeah.
Kings home game canceled, or postponed at least, between the Kings and the Flames down there in L.A. because of the fires. Bad deal, man. If you're watching any of that video, it's crazy. So pray for your loved ones and
we're
the people
thinking
who are down
about
there. Let's keep this thing going. If you're watching the news and you feel like you can do something about it, find a reputable charity and help some people out there in Southern California. Okay, we'll take the break. We'll come back. We got another hour right around the corner, so stay here. 97.5 KSL Sports Zone.